set. My guest today, boy, this is a long time coming. And he really needs no introduction. This podcast, before we get into who it is, I'm going to say this surpassed my expectations. I was a bit hesitant. I was like, ooh, this one might be crazy. It was crazy in all the good ways, and it got better as the podcast went on. He needs no introduction. His name is Kanye West.
Joe Rogan Podcast, check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day.
Hello, Mr. West.
What's up?
What's going on, man? Good to see you.
Good seeing you too.
We finally did it. We're here. We made it happen.
We're in the building. Yes, sir.
So, what are you doing? You running for president?
Yes.
What made you decide to do that? Aren't you busy enough? Clothing company, successful rapper, family man.
It was something that God put on my heart back in 2015. A few days before the MTV Awards, it hit me in the shower. And when I first thought of it, I just started like laughing to myself, and it like all this like joy came over my body, just through my soul, and I just felt that energy. I felt that spirit. So then 2 days later, I accepted the Michael Jackson Video Vanguard Awards at the MTV Awards, and instead of performing, my array of hit songs, I gave just my perspective on award shows. But always, I knew at the end I was going to tell people I'm running for office. I'm running for president in 2020. And, just to have it even took heart to say it in that context. And people were just like, oh, like their minds were blown. And then I was hanging out with I had different friends that were, some people in the music industry, some people tech elites, different things like that. And they would really, they just really took it as a joke. And they're telling me all these millions of reasons why I couldn't run for president. I remember running into Oprah 2 days or 1 day after that. She's like, you don't want to be president. And, people just, thought projecting, putting this on you. And I remember saying, one of my responses to one of the people one of the naysayers was, well, I'll definitely be a billionaire by that time. And not that that's a reason why someone should become president, but it's to say, at that time I was around $50 million in debt. And I knew I had the confidence that I would be able to turn that around. And now, just going into, I want to just give you that's a clear answer.
Right. I know what you're saying.
I don't want to go off onto a
no, it's okay. It's, yeah. What you're basically saying is you know how to set goals, you know how to achieve them. But what was Oprah's rationale when she said you don't want to be the president? Like, what was she saying? Because remember when people were saying that's our next president? Remember when Trump got elected? They showed Oprah and they were saying, like, there was, I believe it was like NBC tweeted it. This is our next president. Like, a lot of people wanted Oprah to run, and they felt like if Trump could win, Oprah could win.
When I saw Trump win, I was like, see, you can win outside. You can win if you're coming from outside of politics. I was young when Ronald Reagan was president. I don't remember.
But Ronald Reagan was the governor of California before he was the president. He had actually proven himself as a politician, at least somewhat.
Which is an idea that people have thrown out at me
to be governor of California.
To be governor of California.
So anyone's better than this guy. Just go ahead, start there. Give it a shot. Open things up again, man.
But I think my calling is to be. I believe that my calling is to be the leader of the free world. If it's in God's plan that part of my path is to be the governor, then that's fine. But my calling is to be the leader of the free world.
So when you say this, like when you say your calling is to be the leader of the free world, what does that mean to you? Does it mean that you have a plan that's different than the plans that have been implemented before? Does it mean that you have ideas?
What kind of plan?
Like the plan to be the leader. Like what would you do if you were the leader of the free world? Like what would be different about the way you would handle things? Like if that's your plan, like what is it about that is your calling? Like, why would you want to do that? Like, what do you want to do differently if you were the leader of the free world?
Well, there was a couple questions in there. You said, why is that your calling? There's people who will say to me, they'll say, well, music is bigger than politics or more influential than politics, or celebrities are more influential. And I thought of it like if I was a pastor of a 100,000 person church, but then I was also a captain, a sailor, and then we went to war, and I said, I'm gonna man this ship that has 1,000 people, 1,000 soldiers on it, because God is calling me to take this position, even though I'm the pastor for, however big my audience is in hip hop, in music, or as just an influencer or celebrity, or just as a dad and a husband in my house. The world is like, there couldn't be a better time to put a visionary in the captain's chair. And that's not to say we haven't had visionaries before. I'm not coming here to down any of the other. I'm not here to down Trump, down Biden. I'm just here to express why God has called me to take this position.
So when you say a visionary, you think of yourself in terms of like as an artist, as a creator, someone who has these thoughts that they manifest in terms of music and art and creation and design, the things that you do. Mm-hmm. That's why you think you're different as a visionary.
Yeah, I think I'm different from. I mean, we're all different. So I'm definitely different from everybody. We're all different from each other. I mean, I do bump into people that seem to be like the same character inside of. Yeah, it's like
I've seen people, those before.
Yeah, people play the same role. It's like, man, I just met you before. You're just like the head of this company over here. You're the same kind of person. I mean, I manifest. I see things. I'm a great leader because I listen, and I'm empathetic, and I feel the entire earth, and I feel us as a species, as the human race. Like sometimes people think that utopia as almost like a negative word. That's like we couldn't have that, but I do believe in world peace. Like the people hit me with one of the things Oprah said is, she said, you got to bone up on your foreign affairs. I remember this, like, because it's Oprah talking, so I'm gonna remember a lot of what the conversation was. But that's the first thing she said was, foreign affairs and foreign policies. Like, just, I think the reason why I say leader and not politician and not even specifically president is this is the time. When the Constitution was written, that was an innovation. Now, the world is innovated all around our political system, but we haven't innovated and simplified our political system. So I met with this gentleman, Sam, one of the founders of Y Combinator. So Y Combinator is a contract that my friend, the head of Dropbox, used, and that a lot of tech guys use, and it's a standardized deal. So one of the ideas I had when I was, as I'm in this process of innovating, I'm not in war with the music industry. It's just, it's time for us to innovate. And we need to have contracts that make sense with exactly how we sell music. So, people, every decennia, and that's like every 20 years, that's like decade is 10, decennia is 20. And as you see now, it's like the world is just stopped for a second, and there's an opportunity to look and say, what are the things we need? What are the things we don't need? So I don't know if you saw when I posted my contract, I had 10 contracts that kept on putting me inside a labyrinth, and there's things that we don't need. Now, I believe that the distribution partner that the label is, like Prince would go and say, oh, we don't need the distribution partner, especially if Prince was, really alive and thriving in this internet era. I'm the kind of person where I'm not trying to go and eliminate anyone's job. So record labels are afraid of saying, okay, we're going to hand over the distribution completely to you guys, which is, that's a possibility. There's a way where both parties can be happy and that these infrastructural partners can be of service to the influencer, to the artist. Like these deals can be flipped in a way that they're just more fair. A record, let me just go into this specific place with the record labels for a second.
Yeah, please
I
do.
know I'm talking about that for a while.
Because it's a confusing thing for people on the outside.
Yeah. So before, when I told my father I wanted to rap, he was very leery of that idea. He said this I heard this business is terrible. And he's right. Like, people are all seeing things that are wrong inside of contracts, turning blind eyes to it, and everyone's responsible. Everyone's a part of it. It's like when the Me Too movement happened, it wasn't just the guys that were getting tagged, and some of the guys should have got hit with it, some guys shouldn't. That's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm saying that in a way everyone's responsible. Everyone's a part of the problem. That's why I really love that Black Mirror episode when everyone was making comments, and anyone that even made a comment, the bees, it was about these mechanical bees. Anyone, and this is a spoiler alert if you haven't seen this episode, but anyone who made a comment, the bees came to go get them. And that's the thing about what you put in the universe, even a thought. You put that thought into the universe. It's another thing to say something negative and put that into the universe. It's another thing to see someone being raped. That's the reason why I compare what's happening in the music industry to Me Too, because artists are raped. You've heard that term before. This is not like a new thing that I'm making up. The contracts are made to rape the artist. And I put my, I think about, this is like a thought that right now it's like, is this a negative thought that I'm putting into the universe? But I have to say, when I was going on Twitter, I was thinking about Bruce and Brandon Lee. That crossed my mind to say, this is Sony, this is Universal, and I'm willing to put the blue paint on my face and go out and do this because it's the right thing to do. Music, at this point, it loses me money. It doesn't make me money. It is my $5 billion net worth and $300 million of cash that I see a year. Music is negative $4 million for me. So these contracts for me were kind of like Wangro and Heat, where this guy had everything, but he still said, Wangro messed up this heist that we're gonna do. I look at the music industry, not music and the love of music itself, but the music industry. I look at it like Wangro. I blame, the loss of my mother partially on the entertainment industry. The always fighting to, represent, who you are against media, entertainment industry that's trying to tear down anybody that's not going with the flow. I see, I've got those kind of reasons personally, but vengeance is mine, said the Lord. So it's not a matter of going in for revenge. That's just me as a human being where I fall short. I'm not a monk.
Can you explain what you're talking about with Bruce Lee and Brandon Lee? What I lost you there.
Okay, so Bruce Lee and Brandon Lee were both murdered.
Well, Brandon Lee died in an accident on a movie set.
Yeah.
Do you think it was a murder?
I felt...
That's the conspiracy, right? The conspiracy was that the Chinese triad killed him the same way they killed Bruce, but the coroner's report was that Bruce died from a reaction to a medication, right?
Yeah, but I think about that anytime I go to the go to the hospital. I'm very, I'm mindful of that stuff. You think about like Bob Marley, they didn't just JFK or MLK him. There's like reports that it was something in his toe, or
he had cancer, right? I believe he had skin cancer.
Yeah, like I went to go. I got a shot in my hand because just from texting and stuff, my thumb was like hurt. And then I posted.
You text so much you hurt your thumb?
Absolutely, just texting way too much. So I post a picture of the screen at the hospital, and then I was asked to take it down.
By who?
People just called me. I'm forgetting exactly who asked me, but it was like they got to my management, they got to this, and they said, take that picture down. Like the hospital, it was in the weirdest place, so.
What did they not like about the picture?
I think it might have had some information on it that they didn't want to go out, like an address or something like that. And it's just like, but I don't want to go down these rabbit holes. I'm just saying, like, Michael Jackson not waking up one day, Prince not waking up one day, Bruce and Brandon Lee, Bob Marley, all of these things have crossed my mind, as I'm going and saying I need to innovate what these contracts are, not just for me, but for all artists. It's not about me getting my masters back. It's about freedom. And I say on a new song, I say, if I would put myself in harm's way to get my masters, they would put themselves in harm's way to stay the master. And there's a complete parallel to the way the music industry works and the way the world currently works, and the influence that America has on other countries and the way governments work. The influence and the way government and the way people in power, in control, deal with, disaster relief, deal with Haiti, deal with the Bahamas. Like, where is the money going? Why aren't things being built? And this concept of money, right? I asked myself this, I asked someone a week ago, like, how much is America in debt? And they were like, this many trillion. And then I asked a rhetorical question, but the dumbest question I've ever asked myself, I said, well, how much does the earth cost? Think
about a bad question.
But
how much is the earth worth?
Yeah,
right
what is the earth
Everything.
worth?
All the things on earth.
Yeah. And it's saying we can't buy it. We couldn't make enough money to buy the earth, right? So that means we made money. So if money is the key to all people's happiness and will solve everything and everyone's doing things for money, let's just make more money. But it's not about making more money. It's about keeping poor people poor and rich people rich, and keeping people in their place. And right now, we're experiencing the fall of Rome, or the Titanic has now hit a glacier. And there's people who would prefer to go down with the Titanic than to get on a lifeboat because they don't want to get seawater on their dress or on a nice outfit. The people are so programmed and brainwashed into classism and protectionism that it's difficult for people to embrace innovation unless it has a tag on it that's got a name brand connected to it that says, with this innovation, you will be better than the person, you'll be better than your next door neighbor. When I made Sunday Service, I completely stopped rapping because I didn't know how to rap for God. All my raps always had like nasty jokes on it, and then I made when I went to the hospital. I know you want to get into this. When I went to the hospital in 2016, I wrote Start a Church in Calabasas, and as we left from 2018 going into 2019, I said, I'm not going to let one Sunday go by without starting this church. And there's people who said it wasn't a church and different things, but to start a ministry, I'm like the little drummer boy where I'm saying, this is all I got to bring, my drum. I might not be well versed in the word and but I know how to make music, and I know how to put this choir together, and all things can be made good for God. So it like quickly became the best choir of all time because all the best singers moved to California. And now, but a lot of them grew up in the church, so it's like the opportunity for them to actually get paid singing for God, because I would be funding it. And that for me was like a tithe for me to fund Sunday service. And I was 4 months in before I gave my life to God. Like, I wasn't saved. It's just I had a calling saying, just go make this church. And the whole thing, the comparison to this church to me going and saying, okay, why am I running for president, is to be in service. Not service to my own ego. I feel like God says to me, like, haven't I given you enough? And I gave you an ego that helped you overcome all these, roadblocks and smoke screens and people telling you what you can't do. Now you need to realize when you're doing things for your ego and when you're doing things for me. This is like God, what I feel God is saying to me. Because it really irritates me when people say, God told me to tell you. So I'm very mindful with this kind of wording. I'm saying I have a feeling that that's what God is saying for me to be in service. So the ultimate service position is leader of the free world, to be the president of the United States. It's sometimes you see me on Twitter, I'll say, I want all the smoke. I want all the problems, because the problems are the opportunities. There's an opportunity to solve things. And Kurzweil, he created the keyboard, Kurzweil. He has this video that Mark Romanek, this director that shot 99 Problems for Jay-Z, which is like my favorite, maybe like top 5 or top 2 favorite videos of all time. He also did Closer for Trent Reznor, and I just grew up on MTV in the 90s, and I love Mark Romanek videos. But he would share, he'd share little bits and pieces. And I remember Ray Kurzweil talking about the ability for us to have a utopia, but us being led by the least noble and the most greedy. But if someone, or when someone gets in a position of leadership that is in service to God and in service to people, period, but immediately the American people, I had this joke I was saying, man, no one outside of our country should be able to see these debates. This is family business right here. This is only for America to see. We can't let anyone outside the country see it. But to be in service. So I stepped away already from my rap career for a year and served God every week, sometimes twice a week, 3 times a week, never missed a Sunday until COVID. And this is the thing, there were people inside of the church stealing, doing different things, trying to just take them, and God still provided a way for us to keep that boat afloat. We never missed a service. And then one of my pastors, Pastor Adam, who is the way he preaches is called expository. It's like 1-to-1 by the word. I like all different kind of preachers, but there's some type of preachers, they get up, they have the Bible in their hand, then they close the Bible, and then they just talk for 2 hours. And some do have anointing, but the expository preachers go line for line. And for me, it's like I come from entertainment. I got so much sauce. I don't need no sauce on the word. I need the word to be solid food that I can understand exactly what God was saying to me through the King James Version, through this, through this translation or the English Standard Version. So Pastor Adams was coming by my spot. I got this 300-acre spot in Calabasas that we had a little house in that I was recording. And I would play this music, these chords that I love. They're almost like monk-like. And that's going to go into something we'll talk about later, because I'm building a monastery. I'm building a monastery that will then be the future of monasteries. It's like full sustainable energy. Now, he says to me, Pastor Adam says to me, when I was thinking about should I rap or not, he said, my son just said, you know, I want to hear Ye rap, do an album about Jesus, a rap album about Jesus. And it was through the mouth of babes. Like, this person, I'm going to listen to the kids, bro. You know, I'm going to listen to my daughter. I'm going to listen to kids before I listen to, you know, super programmed out adults. And especially if that adult hasn't done something that I am looking to do. Right. So it's so funny how people are so like free and almost arrogant with their advice. And I'm just like, why would I listen to you? You don't even ask me for any advice. I'm the most successful person I know. So so he said my son wants to hear a rap album from Ye. And that was the paradigm shift for me. I use that word a lot. I like that. I like paradigm shift. It's one of my favorite words. And I made this rap album. And, you know, for a lot of people, it was the first album that they could play with a certain production level in the house with their family. Now, you know, you could argue if the Watch the Throne production was stronger or better than Jesus is King production. But when I go and I've been working with Dr. Dre, and some of the beats would just be like, you know, the hardest beats possible. And it's something that was very spiritual and meditative about the mix on Jesus is King, that it wasn't hitting as hard as Jesus or hitting as hard as Watch the Throne. It was like, this is how God wanted me to make this sonic painting and the way he wanted me to communicate. Then so we did that album, and then we did the Jesus is Born album, which also I got that idea from Pastor Adams. And I mean, there's people who that's the only album they play, and it's just bringing these gospel. And I tell you, like, my formula for these hymns I'm writing, because I'm writing the songs that we're doing at Sunday service is basically my book of hymns for the future gospel university that I'm creating, where I've envisioned and will manifest a 200,000 seat stadium, circular, with 100,000 gospel singers. And people will go to this university and they will train the way, you know, a Russian Olympic swimmer, you know, I picture like they would be in the pool 6 days a week at least, if not 7 days. But for people who sing for the church, or, because it's a tide, it's pro bono, it's all this, like, people don't practice that as much as we practice going to studio to rap, or practice playing basketball if we're in the NBA. So it's making the NBA, so to say, the Coliseum for God. And what that, have you like heard like soccer chants? Mm-hmm. And just like 60,000 person. So I envision that for God, 100,000 people, sometimes singing in harmony, sometimes in unison. Glory, glory, Lord God Almighty, we lift our hands and give you praise. Glory, glory, Lord God Almighty, we lift our hands and give you praise. Glory. But picture 100,000 people in unison, and that feeling, what that will do for our spirits, our souls. It's healing. There's natural forms of healing about our environment, the friends that we're around, what we're wearing, what we're eating, our diet. So Donda is the design company that I formed around 10 years ago. And some of the people that worked at Donda have went on to become heads of fashion houses, like Virgil's the head of Louis Vuitton, and he was the head of Donda at a certain point. Another guy that worked at Donda is now the head of Givenchy. So this is like the talent pool. And this Donda is basically my version of like a cyber, extension of my brain. Like, here's something that I'm thinking of that you can't touch, but we need to bring it into fruition. We need to manifest it. And we have to see how to use things of our past and things of our now to create our future. So it's a organization created to guarantee the future of the human race. Really, I thought about even calling it Edna, because I see us all as superheroes, and Edna was the designer in The Incredibles, which is kind of almost really similar to Donda. I'm just seeing these lineups and stuff. So now our focus is food, clothing, shelter, communication, education, and transportation. So at the school that I just created, Easy Christian Academy, we call NASA, we call different places about this hydroponic, vertical growing garden. And I remember sitting, the idea of the garden is from A to Z, you have to be able to make your food right there, fully sustainable, right there on your land. And, there's a bunch of people like, oh, I made this salad right here. It's like, I'm not, that's not good enough. You still got to go to the grocery store for 80%, 60% of your stuff. And I remember this one, this one farmer we had, he wanted to build this class for the kids and all this. We're going to show the kids this. Like, people always make the kids version. I don't like the kids version thing. Like, kids need to understand what if the pandemic was, they lost all their parents and it was lost. The kids need to understand early how real life works. So physics is one of the anchors of the school that I'm creating. I remember, the city is all self-sustaining, so it works off of our 4 main resources: earth, wind, water, and fire. And 90% of it is running off of water with like aqueducts, like the city of Masada. And I was talking to this engineer and saying, I need the whole thing to run off of water. And he said, well, we're going to have to use solar power. And I said, I don't, and please, don't take this as any offense. I don't like solar panels. I feel that they're part of still of what Edison's idea was. I don't feel like they're really in line with what Nikola Tesla really wanted to do with alternative current. We get into the whole Tesla and what Edison did to take Tesla down, and the fact the world would probably be free by now if Tesla wasn't basically destroyed by the media that Edison controlled and the propaganda that Edison controlled. So I'm talking to my engineer and saying this needs to run completely with water, and I don't want to use a solar anyway. And he says, no, I'm saying we're going to use a mirror, and it's going to connect to a steam engine, and that's going to push the water back up. And I was like, after like screaming at the guy, I was like, look, if I had known physics, I wouldn't have been screaming at my engineer. So if we think about what we're learning in school to learn physics, to learn farming, I was talking to a friend of mine that's a rapper and super God following, spiritual, super smart, and I was showing her some of the designs for the monasteries and some of the designs for the fully sustainable communities, all the same thing. And then it said bioengineering on it. And she said, well, it's like, for her, bioengineering has a negative connotation. And my response was, isn't like farming and cooking like bioengineering at the simplest form? Like, we're going from like grabbing apples off of a tree to, oh, we put this, boom, in the ground. Oh, and we could grow this, and we could grow this, we could grow this harvest right here. So it's, I want to just simplify and round up the principle behind the Donda way of thinking is we've got all this information and all this, these scientific exploration, these things that Tesla never completed, these things that Da Vinci never completed, and we can look at all of these things and see, how do we create the most primitive versions of this to create a fully sustainable ecosystem, which is, what COVID actually helped us to, get closer to our families, get closer to our children, understand like, oh wow, that, that was mapped out for us to be 50 minutes away from our home, and our kids' school to be 30 minutes away, and to put us in traffic for that amount of time. And these cities have been designed to promote industry and just to make more money. They haven't been designed to promote happiness. So we're at this paradigm shift in our existence. it was when Muhammad hit the market, I think that's who it was, and brought money, because before it was slave and trade. And this is something, dishonorable men honor money. I got this bar from Dave Chappelle. I'm not trying to steal his bar. And we as human beings, this race on earth have been honoring money. And money it's not even real. It's not even backed by anything. I don't want to go too far into that. But when you unprogram yourself, you see that there's other forms of currency now. Like relationships are a more important currency than money itself. And that's what we really saw. It's like the end of the movie. Our existence would be pre-COVID, post-COVID. And so as the Titanic is crashing and sinking and Rome is falling, there's got to be this new civilization, like the end of Tron, where everything starts to light up and it's been under this dark cloud. So, God is using me, and he has a calling, in my life to make the world better for all people. Like people say there's bad people, there's good people. No, there's people that are possessed, that have demonic ways. But we were all children at one time. They say some people, no, they were born bad. You got to remember, there's bad people. Even the devil's an angel, a fallen angel, a lost angel, like Los Angeles, if you think.
But that's the city of angels. Let me start from the beginning. So you essentially deconstruct things. Mm-hmm. So when you say in many ways, when you're describing yourself as a visionary, this is what I'm saying. You're looking at all the systems that are in place, whether it's the record industry, the contracts that are wrong with artists, the way civilization is set up.
I think visionary is too glossy and too saucy of a title.
Okay, well, whatever.
More of an engineer.
You're deconstructing all of these things, and you find flaws in the systems. So all these systems, whether it's the music industry system, whether it's the political system, whether it's the system of gathering food, whether even a religious system. Like I remember when you started doing your Sunday service, and my friend was like, "What is he doing?" I go, "He's making going to church cool again." Mm-hmm. Like, you don't think that's... Look at all these people having a great time. You have thousands of people that are chanting and singing along. Like, he's not asking for anything. I go, look, if anybody should be doing something like that, it's him. I go, because he's making great music, everybody's having a good time, and what do you get out of that? The best thing that people ever get out of church is sense of community, a time where you get together and you all agree this is where you're going to concentrate on good. You're going to concentrate on goodness. You're going to concentrate on trying to find these shared values that are going to help the community. Now you're doing this in this mass form. You got the superstar musician who's doing this in this mass form with thousands and thousands of people in these gigantic areas. Like, that's nothing but positive. So you deconstructed the idea of how to do a religious service but make it cool. And now you're thinking about deconstructing all these different things. You're thinking about deconstructing how food is harvested. You're thinking about deconstructing how we make energy. You're literally trying to deconstruct and reimagine the idea of civilization.
Yeah, exactly.
So talk me through how this starts with you. Were you always religious your whole life?
Yes, I was, and then I hit high school. No, it's just.
So, but when you're a young man and you're a superstar musician and you live in a wild life, what was it that led you back to this? Just a feeling in your life that there was more to life, there was more to your position, there was more to this idea of a calling, that you felt like you could do more, and that it resonated with you more to produce these Sunday services and to start thinking of life in this way, like you can improve things.
Yeah, God knocked me off my horse. God literally called me and said, okay, now I need you. I need you right now. Not that God needs me. We need God, but he called me to serve him. And I was tired of serving the music industry, tired of serving, filling up stadiums. The last concert, last tour I did, we had a floating stage. And actually it was a hanging stage, but it looked like it was floating. And that's just another thing. That's illusion, where we need to dispel the illusion. I wouldn't even call it the floating stage today, but the whole thing about it is people used to say how I would lose money on tours because I would put so much into the creative. And I was like, wanted to prove, but prove to who? You know, prove to man, prove to greedy people, you know, that I could make more than anybody. And that's like the gladiator position that all artists are put into. Like, we're in the middle of this Coliseum. Let me show you I can kill more lions and tigers and bears and people and blah, blah, blah than any other gladiator that happened. So that's what I was doing. And then I remember talking to James Terrell, and I was like, at the top of my lungs, like screaming about saving ourselves and humanity, and the reason why me and James needed to connect. And then I went to my show, and then it's like my head popped back and the spirit jumped out, and it felt like it was like my mom talking. And the last thing I said was, "This thing is over," and I'm saying it like I sound like my mom, like Donda. Like, that's something she would have said if she was in the physical form when she sees her son, you know, exhausted. Like, I had just went through I had this fashion show. We had this fashion show where we took over MSG and just broke all boundaries. Sold 16,000 seats and played the new album. And it was, you know, 1,000 black people in the show. And you had like all Young Thug plugging in the iPhone, and Travis and Cudi dancing. You had 50 Cent there, Jay-Z there, Lamar Odom. The first time that people, you know, saw him in walk again was we walked together into the stadium, and he's camo Yeezy jacket, all head to toe. And the reason why that was so important is, like, when he was in a coma, I would come by and play him the new music. And once he was out of the coma, he said that he remembered that music when he was in a coma, and that was the album I was playing that day. So that's the reason why me and Lamar walked in together. And then the next few months later, I did a fashion show, and it started 45 minutes late. And the media, they just killed me. They LeBron'd me, as I would say, like when LeBron went to Miami. And they said, you know, who are you to have a choice? You know, like what one of my other heroes, Tom Brady, he left. I didn't see no jerseys getting burned like when LeBron left. So then, less than a week after that, my wife is robbed in Paris. And so we just, because I'm in the middle of a tour while I'm doing the fashion show, while I'm doing this. So we cancel the tour because it's very, you know, traumatic. And then, you know, we start the tour back up and we get back into it. And then I just keep on saying, I want to go to Japan. I just want to go to Japan because Japan is like the way that people treat. There isn't like this systemic racism embedded in every single individual that's inside of the place, like in America. Black, white, anything. There's a systemic white supremacy. Like when I tag, you know, white supremacy, or we say this, it's like yes, that is America. That is the world. Currently, we've been taught that. My first superhero was Superman, you know, and my dad was a Black Panther. But, you know, when Disney makes Black Panther, now when you look it up, you don't see my dad protecting his neighborhood or snatching a mic out of somebody's hand while they're lying. I don't know, you know, like father, like son right there. But you see this character that's made for black people to idolize, that was designed by a white person and put out by a white company. So it's controlling the narrative to say, we're going to show you Harriet Tubman, we're not going to show you Nat Turner. And they do it every chance they get. Maleficent, they called her race of people the Moors. And the Moors are, and I just saw it again. I was just like, yo, if you erase our history, like most black people, we don't know where we come. We think we came from slaves. We don't know our bloodline. And we're given Black History Month, and we take that like it's some gift to us. No, it's a programming to us. Racism doesn't end until we get to a point where we stop having to put the word black in front of it, because it's like we're putting the rim a little bit lower for ourselves. Like, it's when I say I'm the second wealthiest black man in America, like, why do I have to say that? Because, you know, obviously, if we just go on wealth, period, of what we call wealth, like financial wealth, that scorecard, you know, I'd be like, I'm the 78th wealthiest man in America. But we shouldn't have to have a special box, a special month, because also what they show in Black History Month is us getting hosed down, reminding us that we were slaves. Like, what if we had, remember when I cheated on you month? Like, remember when you first found the text messages? Remember, how does that make you feel? It makes you feel depleted and defeated. You know, it's no matter what religion you are, what we can agree on is it is always now. But now is the shortest moment of our life. It's gone in an instant. The longest moments of our life are our memories and our imaginations. Think about how long a kid imagines Christmas versus how long Christmas really is. And when you think back to your Christmas, are you under the table like Jim Carrey in Eternal Sunshine for the Spotless Mind, like under a chair, or are you a giant? Are you a king? Are you what Black History Month has told you you are? And this is me speaking to black people specifically in America, that, you know, I know people who would, you know, kill someone or have a gun, or, you know, in their own hood, and be afraid to go downtown, and literally be like afraid of white people. Like, the most gangsters wouldn't go downtown, and that's just a programming, but that program is inside of the curriculum. It's inside of the media. It goes to this whole idea of Ye. When people say, is Ye crazy? Is Ye narcissistic? Is Ye an egomaniac? Is Ye self-absorbed? Is Ye all these? No, Ye know who Ye is. I know who I am, and I'm not fin to bow to an idea that you want to have of me. I am going to be the full idea that God has of me. And when I do things that God don't like, I'm being the lesser version of me. This is where in my weakness, God becomes strong. I have to be the higher me when people are downing me. It's not like me fighting fire with fire and me attacking, or as you say, like, stooping to that level. It's like the devil will use you against you. You become your own worst enemy. And I just went on a riff right there, but the thing is,
isn't that what you do though? Like, one of the things that when anybody ever talks about you to me, they say, well, he's all over the place. And I say, I think that he's got a different power source. Like, if you look at the way everybody interfaces with the world, if there's a universal power, most people have like a 20-watt charger. Mm-hmm. The way I describe you, I say, I think that motherfucker's got like a 150-watt charger, and these ideas are just coming at him. So you do go on these rants that sometimes need to be dissected into individual things, but overall, you're incredibly productive. So my question is, why do people think there's something wrong with you?
Yeah.
But I legitimately, like, you've been medicated. They've put you away, right? They've brought you to how did that happen?
Well, I'll say these two things. I think very three-dimensionally. I don't think in the black and white lines that I've been programmed to think in, and I think in full color. So when I talk, I have to describe a thought in 5 ways. We enjoy food that has multiple seasoning in it. We enjoy music that has multiple instruments. So when I talk, it's not a rant, it's a symphony of ideas. And when you collect them, you say, oh, these are all these things that connect. Yeah, I just tell the truth. And telling the truth is crazy in a world full of lies. that's simply it.
But none of the things you're saying are crazy. None of the things you said are crazy. It's fascinating the way you think, because I can see that you're thinking in all these different layers and you're looking at things from all these different perspectives, and they all come together out of your mouth in like a tornado of ideas. Now, if someone wants to just have a conversation with you back and forth, I could see where they would go, the guy's crazy, he just doesn't stop, he's just ranting. But what I'm seeing is just, you're a very thorough thinker. You're thinking at things independently, but you're thinking at things in a massive perspective. Now, who convinced you that that's bad? Have you always been this way, or were you less? Was it less manageable before? Did you have issues with it before?
Yeah, I believe before I found Christ and gave my life to God, I would try to lean on my own understanding, and the universe is like a black hole of information.
What do you mean by your own understanding?
Meaning, when people ask Einstein, said, "You're the smartest person, what would you like to know?" Einstein's response was, "I'd like to understand the mind of God." Meaning God is all-knowing, and we can only know or see. And for me as a visionary, we can only know or see what God allows us to see and what He feels we're ready to see and understand, to maximize what our Maslow's hierarchy of need chart is. What sets our dopamines, what sets our serotonins off, what makes us feel good. Basically, like, we did a good deed, and it's like it was somehow where just doing a beat for a famous person, or just doing a beat for a local dope rapper really meant a lot to me when I was 14 years old. Doing a beat for just anyone famous that had a major record deal was a lot to me at age 19. Me being able to, put out my own music and put my own out was a lot to me at age 24. Meaning, as I grow, God sets new stages in the game of life for me, that you get your satisfaction. Like Maslow's hierarchy of need is like our satisfaction chart. What makes us feel whole and accomplished as a human being. So as I go through these different levels, there's times where I would use confidence when I knew what I was doing, and I would use arrogance when I didn't know what I was doing. But I'd rather use arrogance than to let someone diminish my idea of myself, because that is what keeps us going. Hope actually keeps us alive. Anybody you ask, most people, it's like, do you want tomorrow to come? And they say yes. They have hope for it. But I went from having confidence and arrogance to having faith. And faith is the opposite of fear. And that created this fearless approach that I have. And that's what has made me the fearless leader that I am, that I've crystallized into the leader that my mom always knew I would be when kids followed me in preschool. The leader that people saw when we changed the sound of music. The leader when we changed the sneaker industry. The leader in what we're doing with farming and with shelters. When I was building, the homeless shelters a couple years ago, and visiting parks and then going to Skid Row and understanding the dynamics and empathizing with what actual mental health issues are. Not someone, telling their truth or being exhausted and then being labeled as such. Like I am.
So that's what you felt happened to you. Like you were telling
Absolutely.
the truth and you were exhausted, and they labeled you as mentally unhealthy.
Yes, absolutely.
Am I saying this right? That what happened with you is you feel like maybe, or you probably feel like that having this higher calling and recognizing this higher power was the glue that kept your thoughts together. It kept your mind straight, and it kept you on a righteous path. So instead of being scattered with all these crazy thoughts and being exhausted and being labeled manic, right? Like we talked before, and you were saying that they had you on medication, but the medication fucked with your creativity. It fucked with all kinds of things.
Or it blocked my ability to channel what God wanted me to do. But we're all on medication right now. Did you use toothpaste with fluoride today? It blocks your pineal gland. And they put children on it, and we put We put our kids on it. It's inside the deodorants that we use. It's all these things to create like a disconnect to God, to serve that. It's like, are you serving man? Or are you serving the one and only master?
What did they tell you when they said that they were going to put you on medication? What did they put you on, and what did they tell you?
One of my favorite things that they did is they put me on this medication that made me gain a lot of weight. And I said, I'm not going to take this. And they said, okay, we got a medication you can take where you won't gain weight. And this shows you they were trying to kill a superhero, slowly trying to kill genius, trying to make me not feel like I could run for president, make me not feel like I can go be born in Atlanta, grow up on the south side of Chicago, go into music, go and win all these Grammys, change the sound of music and the look of stage performances, all that, and then still end up in $53 million of debt. What the music industry has people going to the exact debt of the house that they think they're going to buy after the tour is over. And it's strategized. There's criminals all over everyone's almost accounts in the music industry. It's not a safe place. It's a treacherous place. So
filled with money. As soon as things are filled with money, they're filled with people that are trying to take advantage of other people.
It's filled with money. Bees come to honey.
Exactly. Yeah. So they put you on this shit because you were exhausted. What did they put you on? I can research. I'm actually forgetting the exact medication that they had. But what did it do to you?
The main thing that it did is it destroyed my confidence. It made me this shell of who I really am. It like grayed over my eyes. It made the Mustang not buck anymore.
They sedated you.
Yes.
Yeah. And what was the thought process behind it? When you talked to a doctor about this, what did they tell you was wrong with you?
They told me I was bipolar. And I remember going on TMZ and saying, slavery is a choice. And they medicated me for saying that, for having that opinion and saying it out loud. But as I put those contracts up, I'm saying this is a choice. As
you didn't mean people being abducted and brought into slavery and put into chains was a choice. What you were talking about is people making decisions that would enslave them financially and enslave their life.
Yeah.
But it was taken out of context and it was taken in the least charitable way, and they decided to try to say, look at crazy Kanye, look at this shit he's saying.
Yeah.
And then they medicate you.
Yes. And the media is always taking anything out of context that isn't a part of the overall narrative. Yeah. That because there's, like Hollywood and media has controlled so much of the narrative, and then you had Silicon Valley. And that's what's so beautiful about one of my heroes, Steve Jobs, because there wouldn't be a Silicon Valley, or Silicon Valley wouldn't be what it is today if Steve Jobs didn't make information accessible like this, which is still a bit controlled, but it feels like Twitter is the safest, freest mass platform to communicate on. And it's like they mess with Jack because of that.
Well, it's still censored. There's a lot of issues now, but I think that's internal. I think that's people that are working there that are woke, that want to stop people from saying certain things. And there's a lot of struggles with that today. And it's unfortunate because I do agree that it's an unbelievable way to get ideas out there. Yeah. But it's a new thing. It's mismanaged by the people that use it often. They don't know what they're doing or why they're doing it.
Yeah. Every version of anything that man has made will be flawed.
Sure, and it has to go through a bunch of different steps of evolution. It has to evolve and change. So, why did you agree to let them do this to you? Why did you agree to let them medicate you? Because if that, look, I'm crazy, for sure. But if someone came to me and go, hey, we're going to put you on some medication, that medication is going to calm you down, I'd be like, everything I do is because I'm not calm. Everything that I've ever done that's made me successful is because I have more energy. It's because I have a wildness. Like, I'm not calming that down. Like, I know how to calm myself down. I can self-medicate with exercise and meditation and marijuana and a bunch of different things. But I'm not gonna take some medication that removes anything that's unique. With you and all these wild ideas that come to your head, like, very few people could string together these thoughts the way you're describing them today. If somebody asked me if there's anything wrong with him, I'm like, he's filled with awesome. Like, what's wrong with that? If you can keep that together, what you just did, the way you just described, reimagining civilization, reimagining church, reimagining the food supplies, there's nothing bad about that. This is all very interesting and very good. Like, I would never say that's bad. But are you this way all the time? Or is there good versions of Kanye and versions of Kanye where you don't feel like you have a grip on these thoughts?
You know, what I love is there was some perspectives that people showed about what a true manic episode really looks like after I was in South Carolina. And this one guy was talking about his mom being in an episode and kidnapping his brother, and, you know, like, proper extreme cases. You know, I cried and was gut-wrenched, like, at the, I don't even like to say out loud what I said on South Carolina, but the idea of, you know, I'm just trying to word it in a way that's really safe and covers my family. People saw this clip of me crying. Some people didn't know what I was crying about, but I was crying about that there was a possible chance. I'm looking at a way to say this.
I know what you're going to say.
That there was a chance that, you know, that we didn't make, that Kim and I didn't make the family we have today. That's my most, like, family friendly, you know, way to word that. And just the idea of it just tears me up inside, that I was a part of a culture that promotes this kind of thing. Like, one of the major statistics on the subject of life is that the greatest advocates for the A word are men from ages 31 to 37. And that's how old I was. And I felt like I was too busy. My dad felt like he was too busy for me. And we have a culture of that. And they have child rebel soldiers that were in Africa that would be doped up and psyched out and made to kill their parents. Well, in our culture, we're doped up and psyched out and made to kill our children. You know, we have to decouple the conversation of Planned Parenthood and woman's choice. Now, so of course, I'm Christian, so I'm pro-life. And when I go into office, I'm not changing laws because I realize we live in an imperfect world, in an imperfect society. What I will be presenting is a plan A, and we've already started to work on plan A to change the connotation of orphanages, change the connotation of foster care, and not just change the connotation, you know, verbally, but to create places that are to the level of, like, the Amon, Geary, and Disney World had a kid. You know, what is this like? And we have so much land that this can be created and then spread across the world to orphanages in Africa and in China and just across the globe to create these environments that when there's expecting families, moms and fathers, that they feel like there's a place, even if they don't feel well off enough to bring another life into this world, that there's a place to go. There's a plan A. Because Plan B and Planned Parenthood were planned by a eugenics that set out and said out loud, I'm doing this to kill the black race and to create population control. You know, if we...
Wait a minute, what are you saying? Plan B, meaning the pill, meaning the morning after pill.
You know what?
And Planned Parenthood.
Let me decouple those things. Let me talk about Planned Parenthood.
Okay.
There's the last figure I saw is there were 210,000 deaths due to COVID in America, and everywhere you go, you see someone with a mask on. With the A word, a culture. I'll say it one time. With abortion culture, there are 1,000 black children aborted a day, daily. We are in genocide. So more black children have died in the past since February than people have died of COVID. And everyone wears a mask. So it's a matter of where are we turning a blind eye to? Like, the media can control, a lot of times it has control what we care about. I even heard somebody say at one point, this is the actual sentence I heard someone say, Puerto Rico's so played out. Meaning there was a time where people were caring about it, and now the media says don't care about it, but these people, it still hasn't been solved. The hurricanes still hit, the earthquakes still hit, and people are still suffering from that, and no one has really gone to fix it. And when that 11 billion goes to Haiti and it doesn't get to the people, you know, the Daily Mail posts a swimsuit pic or something and just deters our energy to what we have to do collectively to help our brothers and sisters. You know, I look at society as one body. I want to just go into this riff because my thoughts are like these clouds and Mario Brothers, and I'll jump to this and I'll see another one, I'll jump to another one, it's like, oh yes, I'll jump to another. I need to express this this story. I believe that, you know, love will heal all, and we have to look at, I believe that world peace is possible, and I believe it's us looking at each other as a moment in time. Time is love. You love the things you put time into. That's what I meant. Time is love. Like, because this is like this intangible thing, this thing you can't grab. You can't just grab time in your hand. You can't grab love in your hand. But we feel both of these things are real. For us to love one another, just as simple as that. Like, love will heal the world. This is what it's going to take to heal the world. But we have a competitive spirit. We like having a bad guy. We like having a competitor. So what we need to do is change the bad guy, change the competitor, make the competitor be the Roman era, the Roman civilization. Make the competitor be the Egyptian kingdom, and say we're the first society, we're the first civilization that ever became civil. Because we are still just as much in the dark ages as medieval times, or as Game of Thrones, you know, level, Black Mirror level. I know I went past future, other dimension for a second, but we kill each other. We kill each other on social media. We kill each other in high schools, like in the way that we talk to each other. We physically kill each other in our own neighborhoods and outside of neighborhoods. You know, this planet, when we keep turning a blind eye to our brothers and our sisters and our family, which is us as a whole, as all of humanity, then of course it's going to get to the point where there's, you know, homeless sleeping under, you know, a bridge in Calabasas, because we ignored the homeless person sleeping in front of the Gucci store. How is this? Just look at that visual. It's a homeless person sleeping in front of the Gucci store. We have builders. We have people who know how to make communities. We have people who know how to cook and how to make food and how to bring this food. People are fighting over land and not really realizing that we're not maximizing our resources and our existence. We've got genius level scientists. We've got people who people who have broken out of the chains, like Elon. Like, imagine if Elon was working at GM on the third floor somewhere. We wouldn't have electric cars. We wouldn't have that new Porsche hybrid. We wouldn't have what's happening with Hyperloop. Imagine if the guy that started Airbnb was shut down, or the guys who started Uber were shut down. All of these people who break away and then create the new society and the next frontier of where we're going. People, like I've said, like, it feels to me like MIT is a place that has to be funded by people who want to take the smartest people on the planet and make them work on the smallest things that won't change anything. And I've talked to people from MIT, and I could look at this brilliant person I was talking from MIT, and he was afraid. Everything was fear. Everything was about his girlfriend's pregnant, and we just got a house, and I don't want to do anything to change this. And this is like one of the most brilliant people on the planet. But if you mix brilliance with bravery, that we can ignite something. Even this conversation alone can ignite the people that are going to change the world, because there's people who have been anointed. You can't teach the brilliance and the anointings. There's people who hit the game of life and they've got something that they're going to do no matter what school they go to. They just know how to do it. They knew how to do it before they got here, and they were going to do it. And these people just need to see what it looks like to overcome the smoke screens of public humiliation, of bankruptcy. I was in debt. The fear of loss. I lost my mom, or the fear of death. You know, what other fears are there? There's a lot of fears. But the thing is, when you remove, like even in the schools, you remove prayer, you remove God, you remove the fear of God, you create the possibility of the fear of everything else. But watch this. If you instill the fear of God, you eliminate the fear of anything else. And it's not that I am fearless. I am literally shaking and in so much fear of my Father. I fear God, and I don't fear nothing else.
There's some power to that, right? Like it just as a mental management tool. There's some real power to that, because so many people are afraid of every single little aspect of life, bills and debt and love and relationships. And if you have a higher power, and this is one of the things that I've always said.
What's the main word that you use even for fear? This is the main disease that people use in politics. It's the main fear, is it? But it's the main word. It's the disease attacking the world. Because it destroys it changes your posture.
Yes,
it changes your idea.
Yeah.
It's worry.
Yeah.
Worry.
Anxiety.
Yeah,
Yes.
anxiety. That's what it is. Stress. Like, it can kill you.
You can't be free. You can't be free to take chances.
To be worried about stuff. Like, and so to be able to anchor and eliminate worry and say, I am walking in a righteous path, and I don't have to worry about anything. I don't have to worry about going to jail. I don't have to worry about being killed. I don't have to worry about bankruptcy. I don't have to worry about, humiliation. You know, because this is where smart aleck prayers can get you. I used to have this really smart aleck prayer. I said, God, deliver me from pain. And then he took my mom. So it's hard to hurt that much ever again. And created almost like a character, like Deadpool. I'm like Deadpool for God. Like, there's no noise, there's no human noise that can. And you know, someone tried to, like, there was a friend of mine that did like a really bad move where he tried to say, I was using this lawyer and I was about to work with him, and he said, the lawyer said he wouldn't work with you until you get my contract done. And I was just like, do you not know me at all? I'd be the type to cut off if my hands are like this, I'll cut off my own hand. I come back in the room, they'd be like, yo, what you doing here? I thought we tied you up. I'd be like, and then I go just make like a Luke Skywalker, hand. And this is one thing I want to say, like, and this is about to make me mad right here. The first time you see me get mad in an interview. They said that George Lucas's prequels are worse than the corporate-made Disney Star Wars.
I'll get mad at that too.
Like,
that's fucking ridiculous.
Revenge of the Sith. We saw how Darth Vader was made.
Yeah.
Like, I watched that like 10 times during COVID. Like, don't jump, Anakin. No. I got the high ground.
Those early movies were pure. Yeah. They were pure.
I'm saying even the prequels are better than anything that. And I'm sorry, Disney Star Wars design team. I know you're gonna like put my face up in the office and be like, no, man, this is George. This is his baby. That thing was set in his heart to show us as children the hero's journey. And these like, how can we run it back and replay? Like, even at Disney, there's people at Pixar that have left. People have left, where they call, I forgot the exact title, but saying like every time there's a new idea, they call it like an unproven idea. So they'll get to Toy Story 800,000 or Frozen Trillion before there's a new concept.
Right. They take a chance on.
Yeah, they take a chance. Yeah. And we've been programmed. Like, when you see the homes, the style of homes that I've been developing, they're far closer to the way the galaxy looks, the way water looks, the way our makeup in our body feels. We've been put into these boxes, and that was due to money, due to construction, that we have to be in these boxes, and we've been stuck in a loop, like on Westworld. And so now I feel like Tandy Newton on Westworld, where she had to use the people that enslaved her, that trapped her, to make it out. And it's funny, when I like the box, and when I'm talking about farming, I had a point about farming that I didn't finish earlier. I hired this guy to do the A to Z concept. I made it plain as day. Make it so everything we cook in the kitchen at the school, we plant it here. And they would just do it to 70%. They do it to 60%. Earlier when I had that point, I went to this whole riff about children needing to learn physics and children needing to learn how to really do things and not having this separated thing. Like, we are programmed to lock ourselves in a box. And what's amazing right now is the opportunity and the platform that we have, that the world is hurting for everyone, for those that are in power, for those that are inside the program. Even those that are in power are still a part of the program. And I read this tweet that someone said, I finished watching Netflix, what's next? And that's so true, that we can't even program enough to satisfy ourselves. The program is done. Forrest Gump has stopped running and just turned around. It's like all of this thing is a setup. The concerts that musicians go to, where we don't, we're not thinking about the fact that we're not getting the lion's share of our masters because we're making the money on tour, and then tour has girls, and tour has the arena singing your song. I need you right now. Did you do good, champ? With Floyd Mayweather, is such a hero of mine and so excellent, because he is a champion, right? But then also, he wasn't afraid to say, I do my deals, I make my money. And what I like is, he didn't let the older system tell him how to spend his money or how to show his money. It was up to him, because he's his own king. God is the king of us all, but he's his own king. And a lot of times in America, we haven't seen kings. We haven't seen the royal blood in our bone marrow and the way it comes through. Now we could show it in rap, and the way we put our chains on, the way we dress. We could show it in the way we play ball and things like that. But it's another frontier to being a king.
Well, there's also something where you feel diminished in the fact that that your money is being stolen by people that don't deserve it. So if you have some record executives, if you have some people that have looped you into a fucked up deal, and they're making millions while you're making thousands, that fucks with your head.
Yeah, it just does. Makes you worry, makes you stress, gives you anxiety.
It eats at you.
It could drive you crazy.
Yeah, it could drive you crazy. Yeah. So I still don't understand how they talked you into medication, man. I wish I knew you better back then, because I would have just had you exercise. I would say, so whatever he's doing, you can't do. Like, you have to understand that different people have different amounts of energy. They have you have this ability to have these like really all-encompassing thoughts, where you have these long trains of ideas and thoughts in your head, and you're implementing them. This is all good. This is a powerful thing. I don't think it's a negative thing at all.
I mean, some of it comes to, I'm dealing with issues that are not just, black and racial issues. I'm dealing with maverick, innovator issues.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with, just as many, issues where there's walls of, invisible walls and invisible chains, as, Michael Jackson dealt with as a black musician or urban musician, where he had to go and, I'm urban, and he came with Thriller. He's like, let me go get this person who directed, which is Eastwick, I'm gonna get a movie director, and he changed, movies forever. I'm dealing with some walls that, people have done to hold back agents of change throughout history. It's like the movie is here. Like this part, us talking right now may be a scene from my life's movie. Like Tesla was, a white guy that was a ladies' man, and he would be going to all the like fancy events and everything, and like he stopped having sex at age 40.
Yeah.
And said, I'm gonna focus on it. And I mean, he died penniless at the end. I'm not gonna say like he turned evil, but he's trying to sell a bomb, and he had all these like answers that would change the construct of society. And like, my best example is like Kodak. They're in a place where they can barely pull it together now, but they invented the digital camera, and they didn't bring it to market because they had all this film to sell. But one of the things that's really, that's a challenge for me is, I designed this thing, we call it the foam runner, and we built a factory for it in Cody, and you can make these in 25 minutes. And what I'm saying about design, I was talking to one of the just awesome designers that we just got over at Yeezy. We got like this amazing crew. We got guys that Nike sued us for, and one of these guys, I was trying to hire him for 2 years. He had a non-compete. He had to go surf for a year, and now he's in. And when he does his CAD drawings, it's almost like one shot, one kill. Sometimes you design stuff, you got to do it like 5-8 times. Like his first one is so close to being ready to go to market because he sketches in a certain kind of way. And for the longest, we said, let's. I've been saying I want to get rid of laces, and we still have shoes we sell with laces because it's a popular shoe and people love this shoe. And it hurts me. I feel like Steve Jobs trying to like remove buttons off the side of the next Apple. And one of the things that's interesting about this, if you look at most sneakers, if you look at you guys sneakers right now, you have a tongue, and it goes this direction. Mm-hmm. This is one of the innovations about this is one reason why this is one of the most important sneaker designs is this goes this way because it's ergonomic. And I remember putting it on and being uncomfortable with wearing it because I'm so used to like the way like a Jordan or something fits with my jeans. And I remember talking to Kobe and him talking about having to make sneakers that fit with jeans. And that was a big thing because, that's what we grow up. We grow up wearing, Saucony jeans and Jordans or something like that. So this also, I feel that just the process, when I design, I become like a 3-year-old. I have to go to my gut. I have to forget everything I know and really focus in to what I feel. Like some straight Jedi Yoda, or like, if I could grab that water bottle, like wouldn't it have been cool if I just did it right now? I should have had a magnet on there that you'd be like, yo, this dude's a wizard. So for me, I'm gonna make this shoe be $20, and money isn't real, so that means the world should be eventually free. So I'm gonna manifest the world being free. My dad, he lives in a DR, and he says, anything that you put in the ground grows. So why do people still go hungry? And I like that in theory, but I was like, man, farming is really hard though, man. I think, I might go hungry if I have someone to farm this food. It's like, but back in the days, we had that skill set. Now we're losing these skill sets that actually we can sustain off of. So with this, and I love giving you guys my riffs. I'm like a human version of Instagram. When you look at Instagram, you look at, you're looking like 100 images a day. Well, I've got millions of images in my mind, and the majority of them haven't been realized yet. There's some images that are from my memory, but I got this the future that's in my mind that has to be brought. So this is, we talk about hype culture and shoes being sold on the, the resale market, and Yeezy lives in that place. But I don't like the idea. I don't love the idea that some of the reason why people buy it is just for hype culture, or you ain't got this, or I got this colorway and you don't have it. That type of mentality. I'm an essentialist. I'm a minimalist. And like I will bring the fully A to Z Our Existence version to existence. Like Victor Gruen designed the shopping centers, but he designed full utopian communities. And people were like, oh, we're just cool with the shopping center. That's all we want. And these ideas that he had never got brought into fruition. A little bit like Disney kind of based Epcot Center on Victor Gruen. But this next frontier of these communities and villages of happiness are way closer to a Kenyan village than it is to a gated community village.
But one of the things about this aversion to hype culture, one of the good things about the hype culture is if people get into your products, they're going to get into you, and they're going to get into your ideas. And all these ideas that you have will become a part of their thought process. They'll start thinking about it. They go, hey, he's got some great points. If people really get into your shit, they're also really going to get into your ideas. I think it's one of the things that make people uncomfortable about you is you have the courage to have all these bold ideas and to implement them and to do all these different things. That bothers people. And there's a lot of people that don't have that kind of courage, and they are straddled down by anxiety, and they see a guy like you and they try to find flaws. They try to find things that are wrong with it. Instead of looking at the positive aspects of it, they only concentrate on the negative aspects of it. I don't see it that way. I've never saw it that way. I look at you, look at that guy. He can fucking do anything.
There's people who like Tesla, and there's people who, there's a person who killed animals with Tesla cords to make people not like Tesla.
Yeah,
the person
Thomas Edison.
Who made the electric chair be made with the Tesla cords, so people wouldn't like Tesla. Tesla still has inventions that haven't been brought to our society that would have brought more simplicity and happiness to our society.
Like the Westinghouse ability to transmit electricity through the air, which is fascinating. I don't know if that would have worked in today's world with cell phones and all the different electronics and even modern air travel. I don't know what it would have worked, but things would have been different.
People are over designing into industries where they see they can make some money as opposed to stepping back and saying, how do we look at the entire earth as an opportunity to free everyone and create happiness for everyone? So there's only 1 billion people on the internet. You never think about that. There's 7 to 8 billion people on Earth, but then there's only 1 billion people that are influenced and that are on the internet. We feel like the internet is everything. It's only like 15%, 18% of human beings. But in order to make for our civilization, for us to survive, we have to make more human beings. We have family. We have to have food. We have to have shelter. That we don't have to have the internet. We don't have to have music. We don't have to have, that's a conversation. I mean,
it enhances life.
Yeah, it enhances the quality of life is better. But look at the music. Look at what the information we're putting in it. Like, I feel bad when I hear rap songs. I feel bad. Even the stuff that I just recently put out. I was like, how you listen to Lames? They the imitation, man. Like, why is that's just? I don't like that message because we're all the imitation of our parents, and imitation of this, imitation, and then imitation of Adam and Eve. We're all the next versions. There should be the V2, V3, V4. Michelangelo and Da Vinci had the same teacher. There's times where, my people who work with me, or just say like my mentees or whatever, will go out and they'll do something that I wanted to do, and then I'm torn because as a man, I'm jealous and I'm proud at the same time, and it's like a father-son relationship. Because sometimes when the son goes out and is more successful at things, the father wants to say that's a good job, but every time the son does something that's a good job, it reminds the father of his failures.
Yes.
So it's just, it's a strong dynamic that's where I have to lean on God to not be like, this prick that's jealous of, people who are innovating or taking, the goal line, because we got to realize we're in a relay race of humanity. At a certain point, whoever, what the inventors in the past did is now handed over to the inventors today. They're handed over to the next inventors. Well, the good thing about the walls and the perception and all that is this like smaller barrier to entry allows there to be, a Walt Disney and a Steve Jobs and a Henry Ford. So what I'm doing right now, there's a real barrier to entry to constructing homes and communities and farm. Like you can't just do it like how you can just, it's hard for someone to go from, I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm just saying that it's difficult for someone to go from, programming and putting their music out on the internet today to what it was that Michael Jackson had to do. That barrier to entry was so hard for him. I mean, this guy was the leader of the Jackson 5 when he was 5. Like his entire life led up, and this is what he focused on. And it was all focused on that. So it made the great Michael Jackson now. I want to do this comparison of Disney, Steve, and Henry Ford, and what Yeezy is. It's really hard to make houses. It's like a corrupt industry also. You got how many times have you started on a house and contractors like start overcharging for stuff and the budget ends up being twice the amount and it's twice as long? Look, if you had a relationship, this is why relationships are a better currency than money. If you had a relationship with the contractor, if you were part of their family, your house would be done quick. I feel like it's a practical joke on rich people how long houses take to build. I was in the airport and there was a first class line that was super slow and there was a coach area with like 8 openings and there was no one in it. And then I hopped out and this other gentleman hopped out with me and went through that line and we went through. But the rich people with the Hermes belts didn't want to lose their position so bad that they would rather wait in the first class line than to have the time back and go through that. Now, this gentleman is a surgeon that works on people's hearts through their feet. So it's like that kind of engineer, surgeon, doctor mentality. It's like, yeah, I got money because this is what I'm doing, but I'm here to serve and I have a mentality that I'm not better than the person that's in coach, which is the reason why we were the only two that went through how do you segue off of this when I just go into this? Like, how do you even find a question? What are you thinking over there right now?
There's no there's no reason to worry about it.
Yeah.
You have this thought. Do you have a rigid process that you organize your day with? Like, how do you seem to have so many different thoughts and so many different things going on simultaneously? Like, how do you organize your day? Do you have like ritual? Do you have things?
I drive my children to school. I drive my kids to school, and I stay at school with them all day. And I'm in the kitchen, like working with the top chefs on the planet to create this, these healthy menus, and I'm working with the farmers. So the school that I'm at is also, it's like this new, I don't want to, no disrespect to NASA, I was going to say new NASA, but of humanity, that we're anchoring it around our children. So that's what my day consists of. But then I also, in the past couple months, have been going to Atlanta for 2 days a week or 3 days a week because I'm building this 120,000. I'm not supposed to say that I'm building. We're building a sound stage, but it was funny because I go back and forth on content. Should I work in content? Should I work in tech? I have all these like website ideas and tech ideas, and sometimes I'll say I'm cursed by tech. Like I'm not, I don't have any curses. Or God lets me break the curses and break the chains, I'd rather say. I don't know if content is my calling. Like messaging, Like, let me show you what a school of the future looks like. Let me show you what monasteries of the future. Let me show you what farms of the future look like. But we're 20 years past the future. Like, it's in 2020. Like, we're supposed to be in the future by 2000. So it's my job to pull the future into now. And that's something I struggle with when I talk about the different things that I'm doing, getting into the idea of doing like content for Netflix or content for Hulu and like what that content, because I believe we're in the movie. I believe we're in the game. We're in like Grand Theft Auto. It's just too many things that align, and we can terraform. What we can do is be like, if your Grand Theft Auto character just started redesigning the world himself, like painting his own world. We have this opportunity to make life as fun as these second lives. But if you look at how politics, just general unhappiness, misery, control, the speed that contractors go, the farmers that wouldn't finish the farm, the way we are with each other is why people feel like, look, everyone's going to go into like this Ready Player One second life. And I believe that our first life can be just as imaginative, and it will be. So that's and I have a bunch of friends that work in the gaming industry, and I have friends that work in the content industry, and I'm saying I'm anchoring on real life to make real life as awesome as games, to make real life as awesome as movies.
So,
did I answer the question of my schedule every day?
Yeah, but I mean, you just basically go on what you feel like working on. You basically just start your day, you do your stuff with your kids, and then whatever these ideas you have, you just nourish them. You just encourage them. You just feed whatever thoughts are in your head.
Well, but what I was expressing on that last symphony I gave you was that I do have this challenge. That's where I'm designing. I'm actually designing what I'm doing with my time, saying, should I be even taking a meeting? Like when I take a meeting, this is how I know if it's a good or bad meeting. If someone's talking to me and I just get sleepy, I know that that's not what I should do. But if someone's talking, I'm, energized. I like saying the word energized over the word excited, because this is what they do to all of us. They get us excited. And anxiety, they kind of go together. Like someone can say, hey, I got you a new car, and it's across the street. And you get so excited, you run across the street, get hit by a car, trying to run to your new. But if you're energized about having the car, perhaps you look both ways. See, I play this dictionary game with this small Webster Pocket dictionary, and we'll go to a page and say, go to page with the word help on it. And we say, highlight all the words you think are positive. And then we talk about it afterwards. Why do you think that's positive? So the word help is it's like a bad leg on a table. You think you could stand on it, but if you stand right there, that table could flip over. The fourth definition in the word help is to ignore. And it actually makes sense. Like if you have a meeting, right, here's the answer when you know the meeting didn't do good. It didn't go well. The person says it then, how can I help? That means they don't want to do nothing. They'll just give you a phone number. Right. The word is to ensure. And then there's a lot of words that end with URE that are very powerful. Future, sure, pure, endure. And that goes into like the rhyme, because I'm literally trying to figure out the video game at all times to see where these things parallel. I know this can get into like a riff where people like, okay, yeah, you're losing what you're saying right now. But look at that. Look at the dictionary. Look at these words. I have friends that English is their second or third or eighth language, and they say that English is the hardest language to learn because there's so many words to that mean the same thing. It tears me to my core that my daughter has to learn TWO, the difference between TWO, TOO, and TO. I want to just be like, just draw the number 2. Like, just make it like, sometimes I don't know when, the difference. I'm like a terrible speller. And I believe that there's like curriculums that are European curriculums that don't even apply to our genes of, who we are as a people, like African descent people. We don't even talk like that. Like, this is a skill set, but I'm still talking white, basically. Like, you'll see like a black pastor, you know, give this amazing like sermon or like marry someone. I was at a wedding, and this guy, they said, wow, he speaks so well. Well, what do you mean well? He speaks super white? Like, what? Yeah, that's what the definition of well
Right.
is.
Just sounds that you use to communicate ideas, right?
Yeah, well, this is funny. I bumped into a friend of mine. Actually, Matt Williams. They said, Givenchy, I wasn't expecting to see. I wasn't expecting to see him. I wasn't expecting to see him. And we're at the Mercer lobby, and he caught me off guard. And I was like, I didn't use words when I saw him. I like almost communicated in a different language, like a language of like joy or happiness. Only 30% of our communication is verbal. That's why the mask just really throw me off, because I can't tell what someone is thinking and feeling, because a lot of times, half the time, people don't say what they're thinking and feeling, and I have to decode. But with the mask, I can only hear what they're saying.
That's the problem with social media too, right?
Yes, things in black and white, and things being taken out of context. I mean, that's the reason why people love the show, that they're like, oh, we got the yay Joe Rogan, we can hear him go into all of these riffs. And we can feel him. You could see, how I'm looking. You can see my energy and the way I'm saying it too.
Yes.
So,
and you see people sitting down having an actual conversation, a real conversation.
Yeah, and a conversation where anybody that comes on this show, you don't have like this. Like, sometimes with reporters, they have like people that are media, they have like a complex. You don't have a complex. You're like, yo, let's first off to get this straight. Like, if I could whip your ass. I'm Joe Rogan. I'm a professional fighter. Now let's start the conversation. Which I think is another reason, like with Nick Cannon, he's like, man, I married Mariah Carey. I did all these. And both of these interviews have been very positive, because people aren't carrying something already, like some form of chip on their shoulder, where they gotta like every sentence. Sometimes I talk to reporters, it's like they're saying the thing they wanted to say to this guy in high school that they never got to complete the conversation, and they're taking it out on me. I'm like,
I think there's a lot of people that have conversations with people, and they want to create a viral moment too. It's not just a conversation. They have an agenda. It's almost like you were talking about the Disney Star Wars movies. That then it's not a work of art. It's a formula. Like 2 + 2 is 4. Let's put those together. We'll make some money. Instead of the original Star Wars, which was the hero's journey, which was like a Joseph Campbell book. It's like there was a beauty and a purity to it. It's an expression. Someone comes up with an idea and they bring it to fruition, and then you get to watch and you're like, wow, it moves you. The new movies don't move you.
And it was a crew of leaders, of thought leaders, that like was it Brian De Palma that told George to put the words at the beginning, because it's like you really. All I've been feeling like is like when I talk up to this point, I just been making THX, and then the toys from Star Wars have not come out first, which would be like like the Yeezys or something like that, and now so I'm making the whole Star Wars in real life. Like backwards, like the product came first, kind of like Disney. Like Disney, Mickey Mouse became super popular before he was able to get all of his Imagineers in. I want to point out, when people talk about being, self-absorbed or the center of your own universe, what's the main character in Star Wars name?
Skywalker?
Who created Star Wars?
George Lucas? But did he write it?
Well, listen to that last name.
Yeah.
That's George Luke.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's the main character in Star Wars. He kissed his sister.
And it was awesome. Yeah, there's something about things that are pure, right, versus things that are attempting to recreate something that people are going to like. There's a difference, and it's in music as well, right? Like your music resonates with people because it's obviously coming from your mind, whereas some people are creating songs that they think are going to be hits. They're creating top 40.
It's coming from my heart and my gut, but when it's the most pure, it's coming from God, and I'm being used as a channel. It's like when Tanya Hardin hit the triple flip. You know, she had all that skill, and then at some point, it's not called a triple flip. I'm about to say triple Lindy like it's Rodney Dangerfield or something, but it's like there's these moments where we do things that seem like superhero level, and I think that's what M. Night Shyamalan was laying out for us with Unbreakable, Glass, and what was the other one with the guy with the multiple personalities? It's like he's got 3 of these films that are like showing us, hey, you're superheroes. You can believe it. The greatest disabler of our abilities, our greatest kryptonite is doubt.
Right.
You know,
doubt and fear.
Yeah, doubt. Like, why did I, why did I register so late to run for president? COVID. I remember, like, I had the virus, and I was sitting, quarantined in my house, and my cousin texted me about being prepared to run for president. And I just completely put it off to the side, because I was like shivering and, having a shake, taking hot showers and eating soup and, just sleeping.
How bad did you have it?
I don't think it was that bad. I think it was a mild case. And it just threw everyone off. It threw everybody's plans off. And then, it was just this calling on my heart. And I remember talking to really elitist, writers. I was trying to avoid saying white supremacists, but like elite, like the liberal elites are like, so, boy, who you gonna vote on? Who are you to run for office, and why would you sign up for office? If you can't even get on ballots. That's, people are saying that to me, and I could get on the ballots. It's like there's black mothers that go into a hospital, and the doctor will tell them that there's something wrong with their child to get them. This is happening to this date. And then when people say, are you a pawn, for the Republicans? The reason why I think that people are asking me that is because the Democrats do create black pawns. They do have celebrities that they'll sit down and meet with and say, you're going to be an advocate for the Democratic Party, and everyone's like, and I'm not trying to take any sides of like Republicans or Democrats. I'm just saying, why were people so much thinking that I was like a form of a pawn? And then the idea that liberals will say, like, the funny thing is liberals, I think, and I don't know if I could classify myself as liberal, but I'm definitely kind of liberal elite. I wrote My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Like, I've had some of the best writing, so that would put me in that class, so to say. But I'm also just a purist. Like, I see a Kenyan home and be like, that's beautiful right there. I'm not like, I gotta have one of the most racist things that liberals who pride themselves on not being racist have said to me is like, you're gonna split the black vote. And that makes it seem like black people can't make decisions for ourselves, and that don't know white people know me. Like, only right. The liberal, they literally make it seem like only black people will vote for me.
Right.
Think about that statement, the nuance of institutionalized racism. And this would be like somebody from the art world, and they just have a place where no one has really been able to embrace the idea of blacks not being in a block and staying in one place, right. Or blacks having
to vote Democrat.
Yeah, right. Or blacks having an opinion, like right. Us not being on boards, or us being like handlers for other black people, meaning like if we work at a label or we work at a big corporation, it's our job to go talk to the other black people, to right. Calm other right. black people down, but we're working for Universal or Vivendi or whatever the organizations were. I was thinking about buying my master's, and I realized that was too small of a thought. I'm going to buy Universal. They're only a $33 billion organization. I'm one of the greatest product producers that ever existed. I'm a child. I'm 43 years old. I was $53 million in debt, 4 years ago. And now it's proven that I'm the new Michael Jordan of products. I went to Adidas, and we were a $15 billion organization, losing $2 billion before COVID hit. Our market cap was $68 billion. I went to the Gap, and I partnered with the Gap, and our stock jumped 45% in 2 hours. The organization made $2 billion in 2 hours, and now we've doubled. The Gap was market cap was lower than Yeezy. It was like $3 billion when I first got there. Now it's like $7-8 billion, and we haven't even released the product yet. But what I loved, I sat there and I did the deal without getting on the board, and I looked at my cousin, and I didn't want to sign the deal without being on the board. And I looked at him and said, "I'm doing this for you," meaning like this is part of a relay race. It would just be a given that if someone of color was to your position, my position of influence, will be on the board. But Michael Jordan had to break down walls, and Michael Jackson had to break down walls for us to break down the next walls. And the next walls are the boardroom, because you know what the boardroom is? It's an opinion. See, people are fine for us to play basketball and, rap and make clothes, but the society as it's set up is not really used to or fine with us actually having an opinion. And I can understand why, because what is our opinion based on if we grew up thinking we were slaves? What is it? If our opinion isn't based on, hey, my dad taught me how to run this company. My dad is smarter than me, and everything he wanted to do, black people thought he was crazy, and he had to do it with white people who thought he was incompetent because he was black. And the way these companies and the way the music industry, the way managers, and the way society generally looks at black people is the way like a misogynistic man looks at a hot lady. What can you give me? What can you do for me? No one, the misogynistic man not gonna look at a hot lady and say, can you run my company? So, this idea of me, and I got like, I'm building my factories. I've simplified the design, and I was working with a guy that, that's helping me to, build some of the factories. It was an older white gentleman, and he just matter-of-factly says, we're sitting at his house in Malibu. It's a nice day. He just matter-of-factly says, Adidas will never put you on the board. And I'm like, this wall has to come down. Like, how could you not have the guy that has the best ideas? So one of the great things with Universal, one of the approaches that we have is, Universal, when Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre sold Beats by Dre, Universal had a chance to buy in or do different things. They sold it for $3 billion. That was half of the value of Universal at that time, of $6 billion. Due to the internet, which the music industry was afraid of in 2000, Universal now, I think, is worth $35 billion. And now they have another Steve Jobs, Howard Hughes, Henry Ford, Disney, Elon kind of character within their midst. But they're so concerned about the control of the idea of artists, because they're using me as like this artist that has attracted other artists. Also, I used them. I got famous, made some money. I got to tour. I became this superstar, so we use each other. Now there's just an adjustment that needs to be made in the relationship. And I can make, and I will make products that will make more money than Universal is worth. But it's not about the money, as I said earlier. It's about the fact that even though my net worth is $5 billion, and I'm one of the most famous, most influential, God-fearing Christians on the planet, I still have to go to this man or this organization and ask him for something. And that is what it's about. You can have a company, right? When you go and do your companies, don't think because you got the most ownership that you actually have the control. If you don't have the information and the knowledge of how the distribution works, and you're not having that conversation, you don't have the control. So what I did in my organization with Universal, with Gap, and with Adidas, I told my lawyers, my managers, everything, no one can communicate with these organizations except for me. You can give me advice, but they got to talk to the boss, which is me. And right there, you start to get the information flow. Guess who's my CFO?
Who?
Me. So that means I do 10 to 15 transactions. What I do is I pay, because I had open credit cards, I had checks, I had people flying in and out. I had consultant agreements, like people who weren't on the salary, but they were consultants. I had, people paying for flights, hotels, cars, food, Netflix, like everything just running the account. Just even right now, I cancel all my credit cards except for one credit card. This is like the Oprah Winfrey moment where she's like, man, when I started spending cash, I was like, I really realized how much I was spending, and now I sign all my own checks. And the thing that happens in the music industry is just a lot of industries, like people tell you that someone needs to do something for you. And it's like, look, this Siri, do everything for, you can do, it's possible. And it's just, when you ask me, how do I delegate my time? It's important for me to delegate my time. If I made $210 million last year, and I have a lot of maverick ideas. I'm working on cities and homeless shelters and farms, and I'm reinvesting myself. So a lot of mavericks will, spend their money on their ideas, and they'll invest in what they see the future is. And I ended up with a net worth of 10 million. I remember, a month ago, people were like, you can't show your taxes because people won't understand that you're a billionaire if they see that you only netted 10 million last year. And after the Gap deal happened, my net worth went from 3.3 billion to 5 billion. And I had been asking the people around me to run the story, and they were going to run it with Bloomberg. They never ran it. I was not afraid of people looking at me like I was not a billionaire. And I said, be honest, show my taxes, show everything. And then the reports came back, oh, you're worth 5 billion. It came from me just being honest. When I want to say something about the Gap deal also, and specifically the name The Gap and my journey with that. Like, at age 16, I worked at the Gap. I always saw the Gap as like being the Apple of apparel. I always had this comparison with Steve Jobs. I always felt like I was the Steve Jobs of the Gap. It was something about how clean it was and what Mickey Drexler had done in all these commercials. And like, at age 16, I was working at the Gap, and I got fired for stealing. And I was actually stealing khakis. I was stealing khakis from my friend. Funny thing, look, I stole khakis from my friend when I started doing music at age 19, 18. I went and bought a chain. I came home one day, didn't see where the chain was. Come to find out, my friend was smoking crack and it stole my chain. So the guy I was stealing for ended up stealing from me. It's khakis. I was stealing some Gap khakis. I wanted those khakis that bad. So then 27 years later, I give my life to God, and I start doing Sunday service. One of the things that I had to do for Sunday service, or I got to do, that was fun for me to do,
listening
was
to Kanye
design the wardrobe
and playing
for
Sonic
Sunday
the Hedgehog.
service.
Isn't that interesting to many people?
T-shirts. And
I'm finding it quite interesting.
That Jesus wore seamless garments.
Listening
so we started
to Kanye.
T-shirts with the seam was only
How is everybody anyway?
2 seams on the shirt, or moving it around, and what the neck was. And I made T-shirt after T-shirt after T-shirt. In Christianity, we say we stand in the gap. So watch this. This opportunity is presented. And I always had clothes that were kind of chill, like they could be at the Gap. They were not overly fashionable. And God said, you stood in the gap, and I'm going to have you stand in the gap for real. And I'm going to give you favor and increase. And I know I know somebody where all that designing T-shirts will come in handy. I literally was designing T-shirts for Sunday service like David working out in the field, tending to the field. You know, when Goliath came, they wanted one of his brothers and the warriors to go
delusion away.
Goliath, and his father chose David. And David said, I don't need all this armor. I just need these 3 smooth stones. I just need.
And he definitely doesn't sound like he knows how to run a
They didn't know
business.
David had to fight a lion and had to fight a bear. So God, by him tending to the field in humility and in service to God and honor to his family, he was able to have the skill set to take down Goliath. We hit the street. You know, it's a term that I had to learn. Wall Street. We hit the street like you never ever saw it before. I used to be in San Fran asking people to invest in me. Nobody would invest in me. When I went to a wedding in San Fran with all these billionaires and investors, angel investors, you should have seen people's faces. They were like, you jumped from the 3-point line. You ran a stock by 45%. You see, think about this. You're going to split the black vote. You can't vote for them. You're only a rapper. It's like all these things that diminish me.
Yeah.
And now it's like Deadpool. Like I came back as like a superhero. And I won't let that be the kryptonite. I won't let my own ego be my kryptonite. I won't let other people's opinions be my kryptonite. I won't let these labels that people put on me be my kryptonite. And a lot of times I don't like to watch these interviews back until about, 3, 4, 5 years later, because I'm always, I'm visiting the now. I'm existing in the future and visiting the now when I'm speaking to you. And they make a lot more sense in the future because I can tell you, but he can show you. God can show you. So a lot of stuff I'm telling you, and some people are following me, some people are believing in it, and some people are just doubting it because they want to put this label, oh, he's crazy, or it's just a black guy saying it, or it's just a rapper, it's just an entertainer, it's just whatever it is. So I can say the most wild ideas out loud. It's like Veronica Corningstone wanting to be an anchor person, and I remember she says, yo, Ron, I told you I wanted to be an anchor. He said, yes, I heard you. I wrote it down. Veronica Corningstone had a very funny joke tonight. And every time I talk, it's literally like Veronica Corningstone having a very funny joke tonight. Like when I said I was going to run for president. That was like, okay, go ahead. Would you like to interject? Do you have thoughts and ideas also that you'd like to have be a part of your interview?
Well, you went from people mad at you that you're splitting the black vote all the way to the Gap and all the way to Veronica. I mean,
but then I brought it back.
Yes, you did.
The vote, to run it for president.
You brought it back to people doubting you and people putting limitations on you.
People are tuning in this podcast to go on the journey with us.
Yeah. Listen, they do or they don't. It's up to them. The beautiful thing is you're not listening to these people. These people that are trying to put these labels on you and tell you what to do. And you're not saddled down by fear. You're not saddled down by doubt. You're willing to take these chances. If you did become president, what would you do that was different?
I mean, pretty much everything. I was just looking at the suits last night. I was like, yo.
What would you redesign?
I don't wear white anymore.
No?
And they had a white shirt. They had I would redesign this. I will. It's not a would.
Right.
It's not an if. It's not an if. It's just when.
Right.
We got to start with the budget. I feel like, the fact that I went from being in debt to being, I don't even like the way it sounds, the multi-billionaire, because when you think about Steve Jobs, his money is like the least of what's awesome about him, and money is just a tool. Like it's like nails. Like I got the most nails.
Do you feel like it's scored on the scoreboard though? That it proves not just value, but it proves effectiveness.
Yeah, and it's like you're crazy till you're right. So it proves in some way that a lot of the things I said that were crazy, I was actually right about. Yeah, looking at that budget, and I think that's part of God's like training, like Mr. Miyagi, paint the fence, Karate Kid, Daniel-san. On that, I gave like the full description of the analogy, just in case people didn't.
What do you think you would do though if they come to you with talks about foreign policy?
People love talking about foreign policy. That's the number one question.
Yeah.
But when I talk about the budget, this paint the fence. The fact that I had to, that I have to understand $300 million of cash a year. That. You don't get trained for that. That's like astronaut training, that I have to understand how to have multiple industries, that I have to understand how to build and house and provide. I provide people with healthcare, and I had this idea of doing a 0 employee org where I put everything on my partners, on Universal, on the Gap, on Adidas. But I believe this is amazing training for me as a black person. There's people who have been raised to respect a penny, but as a black person, I've been raised to look down at a penny. But the people who really hold their money respect every penny. They respect the money. And it's interesting. I had an argument with one of my managers because I made my own travel ban in my organization because, when I did Sunday service a month and a half ago, it was 25 flights coming in of people I didn't know because there's criminals in my organization trying to kill Bob Marley. Not to JFK or MLK me, but deplete my resources. So I created this travel.
Explain that. What do you mean by that?
What I mean by
there's
what?
Criminals in your organization? Like, what do you mean?
Meaning there's people that, I fired this one CFO about 3 months ago, and up to a week ago, he still had an open credit card. Because when I dig lower and go to it, it's always is this the new person that's in charge of your money? It's no, I'm the new person that's in charge of your money. That's in charge of my money, rather. So
that's why you became your CFO.
That's why I became, and it's the best, and it clears my thoughts, and it really helps me with design. It helps me as I'm designing what I'm doing at the Gap. It helps me what I'm how I'm designing the curriculum. It helps me in the way I'm designing the kitchen, the way I'm delegating, the way I'm working, the way I'm being a better leader, being a better listener. Wait a second. But there was some question you had. I was answering and I gave it. Oh, it was before you went to foreign policies. I went to the budget. Well, I said it's like Danielson painting the fence. The fact that I've had to really look at and understand that kind of money and this God-given anointing, being a producer, being a head of industry, to be a God-fearing and a servant of God and a producer and head of industry at the same time is literally like the perfect combination for a president. And to be honest, I'm literally like every now and then America deserves, the world deserves a leader that they can 100% trust that whatever I'm saying to you with the information that I have in front of me, I 100% believe that. Like when I talked to when I was with the president of Haiti and he gave us an island, me and Shervin Pishavar, that was an early angel investor at Uber and is working on the Virgin Hyperloop right now. Really great friend of mine. He saved me. He's had me avoid deals where I was going to give up a percentage of my company for a third of the value and different things like that. So we go to Haiti and the president gives us this island to develop, to make a city of the future. And also we're going to have the farmers and the people who live there take a percentage. Take ownership of the land that they have right now. So when it raises in value, they all eat off of what the idea is. But he said that the way that he has done business with our president is so straightforward. I believe that I know that me as president would be the best thing that ever happened for America's foreign policy. I've traveled more than any president already, and I bring people together. I put rivals on songs together to create masterpieces. I go and I empathize when I meet with leaders in Africa, when I meet with leaders in I didn't really have a good next thing. I wanted to sound good and like naming the leaders in I wanted to sound fire.
I like that you admitted that.
But see, honestly, yeah, so when I meet with leaders, I'm not trying to go in there and see how they can use my internet. I'm not trying to go in there and buy up their land and develop it and buy it up for cheap. We're going to share information. We have an idea we just had of a dual citizenship for Americans with African descent. That the ability to create environments and communities completely can change the way people act. You know, if people are hungry, they're going to act a certain way. If people have food, they're going to act a certain way. If people are away from their friends and family, they're going to act a certain way. They're going to need to, they're at a college town, they need to stop by this, you know, frat party and, you know, drink and do the, but when they're, you know, but you got to go here, so then you can go there. And like society is all about dismantling the family. I see things being more like a kibbutz, or, you know, where the family can be as close and where the grandparents can be next to the children. And, you know, these ideas I have about how communities should be are worldwide simplified ideas. And they're not based on industry, even though I understand industry, they're based on serving God and serving families.
Sound like you understand
and
industry.
That's something that everyone across the globe, no matter what country in the world, whatever continent in the world, all of the moms and dads have something in common. They want the world to be better for their children. We all want the world to be better for the children. And we can show ways that we are not at odds. Think about, the world is a giant piano, but we're playing off key. So for a producer to synthesize those ideas and not say, okay, we're going to shut. I spent time in China. I spent a year in China when I was in 5th grade. I used to speak Chinese, like ni hao ma, xie xie ni. Like I don't know a lot of. Yeah, my mom was an English professor, and they had an exchange program where a Chinese student could come to America and she could go to, there was like Chinese at that time couldn't come to America as easily. So, you know, there's America's greatest export is influence and culture. China actually has like imitation Paris, they probably got imitation Calabasas at this.
They probably do.
At this point, you know, the artists define culture. That's what makes, there's an artist that designed the Statue of Liberty. There's an artist that designed the Eiffel Tower. This is the reason why I donated $100 million to James Turrell's Road and Crater project. When I went to, this is like the 8th wonder of the world, but I saw spaces that we can exist in that would be helpful for our health, our well-being. These are healthier places for us to be. We need to be like almost like Turrellians. Like our life is like a Shakespearean. Like Shakespeare has written 30% of our language that we use. Like I say, like he must have been a really nice person. Like Da Vinci used to walk away from people when he would talk to people, and that's the reason why it's the Da Vinci Code and not the Da Vinci Life, because he never was able to get it across to the level to affect us for generations to come. These people love art, but they want to put art in the box. We need to surround ourselves with the artists, because the artists are the most connected, the most truthful, and their dinosaur never got killed. Somehow, the people who figured out how to make a living off of art is...
What do you mean by the dinosaur never got killed?
Meaning, art class would be considered to be fun. Like every kid loves to draw.
Yeah.
Right? But some people got to grow up. And like the artists,
right,
in some way don't have to.
Yes.
Like we're all children. We're all, if you're alive, you're a child. We're all children in God's eyes, and we're all young people. Like Jesus is an old person. Like he's old. Like you know, like Adam is old. You know, if you're alive, you're young, and we're like children. And there's all these things, these sharp edges, these corners, these anxieties, these fears, these things put in our food, our diet, our diet of what we consume right here that turn us old and make us brittle and make us put that fear on our kids. Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. They put that we put these evils on our children. We put racism on our children. We put fear on our children. And the children are fearless. The children, it's funny. It's like Claudio Silvestri, one of our lead architects I work with since age 24. He built this home in Mallorca with John Paulson, and he has like this golf course, which the acoustics are incredible, but it's this part where you can walk along that's 20 feet high. And I said, would you, what about the kids? What, you have a balcony, you have a banister or something? And he looked at me and said, they're smarter than we think.
Wow.
And meaning, like, if we were never taught the missing banister theory, that we could all tightrope walk. The missing banister theory, I wrote it in my book, Thank You and You're Welcome, that I wrote with my friend Sakaya, that's actually here right now, that's that you were talking to earlier, is, look, you could walk down a straight line without worrying about anything, but you take that exact straight line and put it 20 stories high, and you know I'm going with it, and you remove the balconies, you're going to be so concerned about the idea of falling that it will make you fall. And that's where the superpower is, in removing the fear.
That's a beautiful thing to say right there.
And it's also probably the first sound biteable thing that I've said the entire
All right, let me talk to you about, so we're serious here, so let's talk about like real presidential issues. Let's talk about, like, here's some things that when we talk about this country, here's some things that mean a lot to me. One, student debt. I think it's crazy. I think it's crazy that we take children when they're 17, 18 years old, we send them away to college, we make them literally hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, and then we ask them to go out into the world and try to manage this money and try to get a job that's going to pay them a fraction of what they owe for their education. I think it's crazy. I think we should figure out a way to absolve student debt. I think we should figure out a way to make education, at the very least, far less expensive than it is now. This is a big issue for people.
Absolutely. I'm completely confident that I will figure out how to get America out of debt. That I have the ability. Once I see everything, I never make the wrong decision when I'm given all the information. That's my skill set. Anything I go into, producing, rap, homes, clothing, anything. Once I'm given the right
did lose $43 million, however.
My taste. And I have the best taste on the planet. I mean, Quincy Jones. There's a couple people that's like, okay, Quincy Jones' taste might be better than mine. But if could you imagine Quincy Jones as a president?
I could.
Yeah. Walt Disney, Steve Jobs. Like maybe some of these personalities are
a little volatile.
Yeah.
But that's what gets things done.
Yeah. Like for America to be as warming and inviting as Disney World. There used to be, this dream of, people still have this dream of coming to America. They're coming to America. Like, it's the America that I grew up, even with, like, when Ronald Reagan was in office, it's like he was hanging out with Michael Jackson, and, it's like, it felt America. Plus the way the media showed things, like the American dream was alive and well. And even at the same time in the ghetto, it was a living hell, and we were being, given, bricks were put on the street. Bricks are put on the street during the riots. Now bricks are put on the street in the 80s, a different kind of brick. And there were guns placed, and the fathers were being taken out of the hood, and this is all this. So don't let me say like everything was perfect during that era, but the perception right now, perception is more important than it's ever been. Like what we show, it's just, it's outright. It's just. I don't even want to dwell on it. Let's keep going into what you're saying about the debt, because also I don't have, like, if you were asking me about COVID, I can only give you my perspective as a civilian. I'm not talking to the same people, and I also empower the geniuses. I was talking to my man Fred and my boy Anthony about crypto and Bitcoin, yesterday, just to be prepped for this conversation, and not about the specifics of alternate currencies, which is like AC, which is like Tesla, which is like, but this is how my mind just goes on these like riffs right here. But Jack Dorsey decentralized Twitter 2 months before it really hit, because he was talking to the Bitcoin guys. And these are guys that really have a perspective on what the true liberation of America and humanity will be. These guys, a lot of specifically these guys, but a lot of the tech guys were able to use the new highways, the new information highways, and create the next frontier of our existence. While the powers of our political system are still anchoring on electoral college, which was based around slavery, about the idea of slaves being 3/5 of man. And get this, it wasn't even created by pro-slaves. 3/5 of man was created by the anti-slaves in the North as a compromise. And that basically explains the existence of black people in America to this day. The people that were on our side supposedly said we were 3/5 of man.
State had a say in an election.
That were on our side,
like there was a representative of every state,
thought of us as 3/5 of man, meaning like, yeah,
not because of slavery.
For us, but you know, you're 3/5 of man. So then you have electoral college and gerrymandering happening to this date, where if you have Latinos, blacks, other minorities,
multiplayer and Megadrive,
redrawing
that's amazing,
the lines to affect the vote to this day.
I never thought there'd be anybody on here to play multiplayer with the
highway
Sega
that
Genesis.
We live in today that allowed all these, you know, tech guys to become multi-billionaires and lead and lead free thought, or allow, you know, as best as we could, a version of free thought. I know I gave you a symphony, but you see how all this really connects. We're sticking, you know, why don't we put the white wigs back on? They still wear the white wigs out in England. England. They still wear it. You know, that's the whole thing. Just because, you know, someone's not, you know, wearing a KKK uniform or a white wig doesn't mean that they aren't holding on to the very core of the country being, based on and built off of slavery. So when everyone's saying vote, you know, that's the reason why my merch is vote Kanye. Because it's like, vote for who? Look, man, if you ain't gonna say who you voting on out loud, don't even wear the vote t-shirt. That's so random.
Right.
That's so rare. And we obviously know voters like Democrat and stuff, because
gonna work. There's too much lag.
There's like
the delay and the controls is terrible.
But it's such well, go ahead.
If you do say that, yeah, you say vote is mostly vote Democrat. Like, and if you have an American flag, mostly you're voting Trump. Like, these are realities that we've sort of accepted.
And it's subs. It's all this subliminal stuff that's based on like fear and control. Even like this, look at this. This is the 3/5 of man thing, right?
Okay.
The Democrats,
when I push the jump button,
take the chance.
There's like about
of not winning
30.
As long as
it's a massive delay.
Be completely in control of. Completely in control. You know what I'm saying? That Bernie.
Yeah.
Bernie would have won.
He would have won.
This is something I wore a Trump. I'm saying, like, Bernie is a superhero.
Yeah.
You know, and
he would be the perfect person to be the opposite of what Trump represents.
Yeah.
He's an anti-capitalist. He's a guy who's a social democrat.
But you know the problem? They couldn't control Bernie. Because
you can't control him. He's been so consistent his whole life.
And so what I'm saying is they literally kicked. If this doesn't say something, it's like they kicked the superhero. You know what I'm saying? They
wanted control. It's the same thing they did with Tulsi Gabbard. But Bernie was interesting because he's this democratic socialist, because he's got these ideas that are scary to capitalism.
You know what's funny? Because I created the birthday party, which on the next election. What's going to happen is, I mean, you guys got 300 million viewers.
So what? Did he win? Or?
Probably 900.
So I've got more ring. So do I win if I've got more ring?
You just did a little bit of Bill Cosby in that neck. No doubt.
Jello pudding pie.
Exactly.
So
this is a long rant, but I really would like to talk to you about specific things.
Okay.
I mean, it was a beautiful long symphony.
But there's a
that's me.
There's a pop. We don't use the word cap. We don't use the word cap here.
Maybe
okay,
an end note.
Ding. That's actually beginner runaway. But there's a possibility that I could. It's actually technically possible for me to win now, which would be the best option for America. I would. I'm on 12 ballots, and it's 17 states that you could write me in on. So if people that never voted, got up, registered, voted for me, they'd have to take it to the House, because I would, I could possibly win now. I'm definitely 100% winning in 2024. And with that thought, I was like, okay, I got the birthday party, but I was thinking maybe there's a possibility I would be.
That's nasty.
They said that wouldn't happen. I was thinking I would, possibly be the Democrat. I
don't think they would ever let you in like that. But I don't know. Maybe. Who knows what happens after this Joe Biden, Kamala Harris thing? Who knows? Who knows what they think?
I would be the first. I'm not trying to. I'm one of the first super famous public black free will servants of Christ since modern media has come to pass. Meaning, when I talk, I'm not talking for a conglomerate. I'm talking for myself in service to God. That's it. Like, I'm not, I'll cover my people, cover my family, but there's not some big plan or like some practice script thing where it says you go in and you say this, mm-hmm. you do this. We want to keep selling Kodak film, so we want to stop you from bringing out the digital camera. We want to keep selling this, raising the price of gas, so we're not going to look to how to like safely harness nuclear power or to do electric power. Okay, go ahead, ask another question. I really just I quite love the sound of my own voice, as you can see it. Apparently,
it's okay. So
it's this microphone.
We started. It sounds great. We started with student debt, and we got on this long symphony.
Yeah.
Have you given thought into the idea of free education, and particularly, here's a big one for me as well: free healthcare. I think if we think of ourselves as a country, and our country as a community, we're all a bunch of people that are together. If we're going to take care of things like the fire department, if we're going to take care of things like the police department, education, we've got to take care of healthcare. We got to make it so that people get sick, they don't go bankrupt. We got to make it so that no one has to worry about being taken care of. And I don't mean to eliminate the ability for someone to hire a private specialist for surgery or anything like that. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying at the very least we have to cover base medical concerns for the population. It's a giant part of what it is to be a person, is to worry about your body being broken, to worry about being sick, to worry about what this is going to cost your family financially and how it can ruin people. This is a huge issue in our country, is medical health. So have you thought about that? Absolutely.
I hear you, and I feel you, and I feel what people are going through. I think that there is it's not just how we treat people. There's preventative measures that can help us from getting sick. Our diet, our locations, our jobs. There's a lot of that affects us and puts us in those situations. Our transportation, as you go into like autonomous vehicles and tram systems, like just kind of, trains that are like floating malls or floating Starbucks or something, like moving, like designing our world to be the world of the future will help us with health. That's the preventative measures. And then as far as being more inventive in the way we connect holistic medicine with modern medicine. I believe in both medicines. I believe in God. I believe in God, in nature. I believe in science and physics. And, you know, it's like the first simplest form of bioengineering, I think, is farming. And to be able to have, like I talk about the guys at MIT, the greatest scientists in the world, the people who are like the Elons of the medical field, but perhaps they're sitting there on the floors, like serving on the front line, fighting COVID, where, you know, they didn't have the opportunity to create PayPal and become a billionaire and go to the next idea, or when they present it and want people to invest in these inventions that they haven't had the voice or the platform to bring this invention. There's cures to things. Like, one of the things is the silver bullet, like what I went through with the medication. They gave me the medication that made me fat, but then they said, okay, we have one that doesn't. We all know what a silver bullet is in medication, right? So it's it's a medication that goes and just kills exactly what it's supposed to kill. But for capitalism, that's not the best medication to actually cure people. Capitalists want to keep people.
They want to treat them.
They want to keep you sick, because that's how you keep making money. To have a guy, like, for me, when I say I put my life on the line, I think about Abraham Lincoln, I think about JFK, to go in and sit and say, you know, the whole thing is, no, everyone is going to be more prosperous, I think is the word. Not specifically, are you going to 5X your money? Everyone's like trying to get, no, it's about prosperity. And to be able to really have real conversations with the lead heads of, like, Big Farm, and real conversations with the heads of holistic and natural healing, to put these people in a room together. People aren't even they're mad at each other. They're afraid of each other. I donated to a Christian school in Cody, and I also went by and saw this other amazing school in Cody, where they have autistic children and kids with special needs in the same classrooms as regular kids. And I just saw this juxtaposition, and the head of that school is a Christian, but it's a state school, so there's no prayer in the school. And then the other school is fully Christian, but it's not a state school, so they don't have money in the school. And I wanted to have dinner with both of the principals. Come to find out, the principal, and these guys, they talk maybe at a softball game or something. The principal house is 1 block walking distance. The principal of one school's house is 1 block walking distance from the school of the other principal. That we're this close. Right now, we have the solutions, but we all have our backs to each other. We need to face each other, and like how we're facing each other right now, and have these conversations. The solutions for utopia are in front of us. But what's holding us back? Fear. People are sitting on their money. Really, they're sitting under their money. I know I'm going to give you a ding. Okay, that's it. Next one. Okay, did you get my perspective of the way I would approach?
You would bring people together to communicate and try to figure out a better strategy for healthcare.
In London,
some realities, some financial realities that have to be.
In London, when you go to the hospital, let me give you the American example. When I go to the hospital, I had something wrong with my foot 3 years ago. They asked me, do you want to take something? Do you want a pill? I said no. 5 doctors and nurses asked me if I want a pill. This is like worse than when you don't accept water on the plane and they just keep like, do you want some more water? I'll take the water, all right, because I don't want to be responsible for the water. Like when the plane takes off and it goes like this and I got to like hold it. I don't want no water. Like, I don't. Even though my masseuse says I should drink more water. There are people, they have Christmas parties about bonuses, about giving out more medication. So when we talk about,
they do.
Look at this. How much does the earth cost?
Exactly.
There's no price on it, right? We make money. Money's not even backed by gold anymore. So it's engineering. It's where the budgets are going. And like, it was the best part on one of the best parts on The Sixth Sense is when they looked at this video and it was a nanny. They saw that the nanny was like putting stuff in the porch for the child that had passed, and then they said, the lady looked at the nanny and said, "You are keeping her sick. You are keeping her sick." Like, we are sick. We are sick. Abortion culture, sex culture, capitalism. We are sick. We, as a people, not just the American society, the world, we are sick. And we are keeping ourselves sick. We're all responsible. Like the Black Mirror episode, we're all responsible in some way. We all play some part. Like if I go to Pornhub and the very next thing, and like backslide and do this because I've struggled with this since I was like 5 years old, right? And the very next thing says something about like trafficking, then I literally would have to like put my hand over that part and like click the thing I'm going to, and thinking that like I'm not a part of the bigger conglomerate, that we're all, I'm not really a part of the main problem because I'm not as bad as that guy, and I'm not looking at this part, and I'm not we all play a part of it, and we're all sick in some way, and the world has been designed to keep us sick. Like spatial engineering based off faith can save a world. Literally, like building will save the world. Spatial engineering, like not going to space, engineering our spaces, the amount of space that we need, the way that we interact with each other, how close we are to our loved ones, our families, how close we are to our jobs. We got to experience a lot of this. Some people, it wasn't good. Some people, it's better. They were connected with their children and their families in a whole different way. Like we're talking, this is my thing. We could talk about all of these important current issues. There's deeper reasons based on the slave mentality, based on fear, based on protectionism, not specifically white supremacy and racism, protectionism. People just want to protect what they have. And there's this like photograph where you're holding the little girl's holding a teddy bear, and Jesus has a giant teddy bear behind her back. Behind his back. She don't want to give up the small teddy bear for the bigger teddy bear that Jesus has waiting for her. There is prosperity for all families here on earth right now in service to God. There's happiness. There's joy. It's not a possibility. It's a probability. Just the fact that God woke me up, got me here safely, and allowed me to talk to you right now and spark the minds of the people that are anointed to change the world is already what God wanted me to do. If I didn't take a breath after this point, God had me here for this conversation right now. But I think God has more for me planned. I don't think they're gonna come for me until he done with me. They ain't gonna come for me until they done with me. I want to make it so if someone wanted to sample and put it in a beat, it'd be like perfect. Let's see. They ain't gonna come. They ain't gonna come for me until he done with me. They ain't gonna come for me until he done with me. Yeah, that would work. Yeah,
you can't help yourself. You're always creating. Now,
yeah. But do you understand what I'm saying?
I do understand what you're saying.
Okay, tell me what I'm saying.
What you're saying is that it's your overall philosophy, the way you're approaching life. You're approaching life that there is good for everyone. If we all work together in the spirit of the way you think, the spirit of God, that not approach this like with a famine mentality, but approach this like there's enough for everybody. There's an abundance if we engineer it correctly, if we think about it correctly, and if we all come together with the spirit of everybody helping everybody. This is the spirit of Christianity. This is the good spirit of Christianity, not the Christianity that gets despised or disparaged, or evangelists driving around in private jets. The spirit of goodness and treating each other like brothers and sisters.
Yes.
But this can be done on a national scale.
Yes. Because those evangelists, or the people who spread the word of God, you know, there's people who are praying for me. You know, we're praying. Like I said, I like to, okay, yes, I am a genius, but one of my most genius skill sets is recognizing other geniuses and empowering them and giving them the platform. So the people that have been praying for me this whole time, you know, for Ye to work for the kingdom, look at me right here working for the kingdom, not leaning on my ego, not leaning on anything, but leaning on God in this situation, saying, let's rise up together and show people what it's like to be Christ-like. Yeah, we fall short. I mean, people love to like look at the Christians that are the least Christ-like to judge Christianity as a whole. Well, a lot of people got Jordans and 23s on and very few of them play like LeBron. You know, they want to be like Mike.
Yes.
But it's very few people that get that close.
Yes.
You know,
Christ-like. Yeah. What you're saying is beautiful. Yeah. That they do judge the people that fail.
People always go to the furthest extent. Like if you talk about abortion culture, people immediately go to rape, but don't do the math on what percentage that is. And for me, as a Christian president, you know, as I said, I go on that. I touched on it before. I realize we're in an imperfect world. You know, when I talk to my fellow Christians and we talk about meat, we talk about guns, we talk about in this imperfect world, there's a transition between where we are today and where we're going. There's the meat industry have a great impact on the ozone. From what I hear, it does. And we have to transition. One of the things I wanted to, it's a thought that came in, and thank you for allowing me to give you the thoughts that are coming into my head as opposed to trying to put me on a grid, because I'm off the grid, period. The way I think, clearly. I paint in circles. You know, I don't paint inside of the lines, right? Mm-hmm. So I was thinking about, I forget the lady's name, starts with a T, but she changed the meat industry because she was HSP, like highly sensitive person. That's and put the cows in round bins, and that's what I'm doing when I say spatial engineering. That's what I'm doing with our spaces that I'm designing with the farms and with the school systems, the unlearned systems, what are the things that you're going to need, you know, in the future, because 30 years, we don't even know. We think probably the things that we're learning in school right now won't even apply to people when they're 30 years old that are learning this stuff, you know, at age...
especially with technology. Especially
with technology. And the people who design the curriculums are dead. Right. Or they didn't way before technology.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was in computer programming when I was 8 years old, and I used to know how to program. That's how I got into music. In 7th grade, I had an Amiga computer that had 4,096 colors. That's why I got that one. And I would program the different sprites and draw out each of the characters and animate them. And I thought that was the next frontier to like, because I would do like animation books. I wanted to be an animator. And then I started doing the music. They had a music program. I wanted to do the music for the video games. And then I found myself running home from school all the way from 95th Street to 119th Street to go and just keep programming the music. So this is like age, 12, 13, programming video games, and that being the gateway into programming music. I got a longer story about that, but I know you want to ask me some more serious stuff. So, ding.
Okay, ding. This is a big one. The military. If you really did become president, when you do become president, you're going to have to deal with hostile governments. You're going to have to deal with hostile militaries and dictators. People in other countries that don't have a value of human life, and throughout history we've had immense problems because of that, because of military conflicts. How do you think you will approach that? I mean, you will be the commander-in-chief of the greatest army the world has ever known. If you're in that position and we have to deal with some sort of a military action with China, what if China takes over Taiwan? What if they invade Taiwan? What if something happens with Syria? What if something happens with Iran? What if something happens with Russia? And you have to make decisions about military action. Have you thought about this?
Yes, I would. I have to say again, like COVID, I'm a civilian, and people can have all their perspectives that they can have of what they would do in that situation. But I would have the greatest professionals on the planet, the most skilled people that have all the experience that would present the information, and I would make the most sound, rational decisions, and I would follow God's will in my approach to dealing with these other countries, to dealing with these other leaders. There's something about, you know, our president's personality and the leader of North Korea's personality, where there's a level of common respect. Excellent. And that's the reason why they were able to talk, and the fear had been taken off of us. Like, people who are God-fearing, self-made servants of their people. These other, you know, scary dictators, they feel like they're that for their country. And if they see a president that they know is just taking a check or part of a bigger conglomerate, now I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to denounce any of the candidates, then it's very transactional. It's and
fight.
I just said a prayer in this situation.
Excellent.
This isn't.
You said a prayer because of what? What motivated you to say a prayer right there?
Fight.
The seriousness, the significance of this subject?
Yeah, absolutely. We can't jump from jokes about this to, you know, joking about people's lives.
Right.
We have to completely be still in this moment. Allow God to guide our steps and ask the right questions with the highest ranking officials possible.
Fight.
This isn't something that you just wing, or that you just come in and say, oh, I did a bit of research, I got this like political answer that's gonna get a rise out of people. Like, this is people's lives. This is a whole different, you know, setting or mood than what this whole interview has been about. This is, you know, people are suffering throughout all sides, in Israel and in Nigeria and Haiti. We're suffering in the police force in Chicago, and the people who have been harmed by police and the police force. Like, this all is going to take serious time. Like, time is love. It's going to take that love and that time and moments of listening, moments of understanding, moments like when my wife goes and visits people in prison and she hears their stories, she says, I understand why you're in that situation. I would have did the same thing in this situation. And for us to go to foreign countries and really understand why that they're in these situations, or why the killing has gone for so long, or why the hate has gone so long, or why the pain just keeps on, you know, compounding and compacting. There's an empathy that I just have as an artist, that it doesn't become a 2 + 2 = forced situation. My dad was actually a psychology major and a Christian therapist. And this therapy, we talk about therapy, period. It's like we need healing internationally, not just selfishly for America. America's number one. Internationally, we need healing. And I would lead. I would lead with love, dignity, the responsibility to our country, the coverage of our families, of our soldiers. And in full service to God and to the American people.
Fight.
There's a mode that I would be in that position. Like when I was a producer and I was a really young man, I was running around hopping on trains or hopping turnstiles and stuff and like stealing from cars. And I mean, not stealing cars, but stealing clothes from stores. And
Fight.
Then I was selling music and going and buying leather jackets and stuff. Then dating a whole bunch of girls, going on tour. And then I had a family, and I had to adjust a lot of my mentality and behavior to grow and be the man that I needed to be. Then God called me, and I gave my life to Christ. And God is helping me to be the Christian that I need to be. And when it's in God's will that I become the leader, I will become the leader that I need to be. So right now, as I said, I'm a civilian, but my heart, my mind, and my spirit is in a place where I know that I'm being called to captain this ship. Like when Roosevelt went in, America was in shambles. When I say those things about those numbers, when I went to Adidas, when I went to Gap, like I'm the person that you actually call when things are not going so well. You had the mob movies is the guy that goes cleans up everything and like puts everything. I'm like the forensic, where in the same way how you saw my mind touch on 10 things at a time, and then I had to say 10 sentences at a time if I could say them, or maybe narrow them down to 7. That's the way my mind takes, information in, and then it synthesizes it, and it comes out as a song or it comes out as a product. Using that mentality as a leader, fearless, God-fearing, we will heal. We will show the world what America should be, the dream.
You said all this shit, all the things that you said, in the most non-politician way I've ever heard anybody describe these things. I know you really mean these things. This is resonating with me that you're being 100% honest and natural. And that's what we're missing in politics today. I mean, it's one of the things that made people excited about Trump, is at least he was an alternative to the political talk. He was an alternative to politicians speak, where they're being dishonest and disingenuous, but you just accept it. They're reading things that have been written by speechwriters, but you just accept it because it says the things that you want to hear. It checks the boxes that'll say, okay, you got my vote. What you're saying, though, is what you really feel and you really think, and you're not saying it like a politician. And that's what's going to resonate, and people are going to be mad at me. If you get if you've got president, you made Kanye West seem likable. You turned him into the fucking president. It made him seem like a rational choice for president. This conversation exposes a side of you that I don't think anybody's ever seen before. A long-form conversation where you realize that you are a visionary. You do have, these ideas are real. You're not posing. It's not bullshit. This is who you are. And your well-thought-out response, particularly to the idea of military conflict, it's very impressive, man.
Praise God. I'm glad
Praise
I
God.
did that prayer.
Brother, listen, we're 3 hours into this. Let's wrap this up on a beautiful high note. So people can write you in if they want to, and we have a video on that, Brian. So Brian will play this video on how they can write you in, and we'll wrap it up here. Here it is. How to write in Kanye West on your ballot. Now, for people that are watching this on YouTube, you'll be able to watch this, and on Spotify, you'll be able to watch this. But if you're just listening, you just got to go down to the part where it says "or write in." It's pretty straightforward. Write in candidates. It'll show you where you can write it in. This video will be available. This video is on YouTube, right?
It's on his Twitter.
It's on Twitter. Okay. Write in Kanye West on your ballot. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens with this. I'm telling you, man, that was one of the most interesting and impressive answers to any question, because it was so obvious that you were coming from the heart, and that's what we all need right now. We all need no bullshit.
Absolutely.
Thank you, brother. It was an honor, really.
Yeah, thank
it was
you.
a pleasure. I'm glad we finally did it.
Yeah, awesome. This won't be the last time.
All right, let's do it again.
right.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you, friends, for tuning into the show, and thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to CBDMD and their amazing CBD products that I use every single day to make it even easier for you to try their topicals and everything else that CBDMD has to offer. They're offering JRE listeners 25% off your order when you use the promo code Rogan at checkout. So once again, that's CBDMD.com. Use the promo code Rogan for 25% off your purchase of their superior CBD products from CBDMD. We're also brought to you by ButcherBox. ButcherBox is going to hook it up. For a limited time, new members can get 2 lobster tails and 2 filet mignons for free when you sign up for ButcherBox by going to butcherbox.com/Rogan. That's butcherbox.com/Rogan to get 2 5-ounce free lobster tails and 2 filet mignons in your first order. It's an awesome company with fantastic food, and the value is unbeatable. We're also brought to you by Black Rifle Coffee Company, the only fucking coffee I drink, bitches. Go to blackriflecoffee.com/Joe Rogan today and check out the freshest coffee in America. They spend thousands of hours tasting, sourcing, and perfecting the perfect coffee from around the world to be roasted by veterans for people that love America. blackriflecoffee.com/Joe Rogan gets you 20% off just about everything and 20% off your first month of the coffee club. blackriflecoffee.com/Joe Rogan, and an awesome company with amazing products and even better people. I love them. blackriflecoffeecompany.com/Joe Rogan. We are also brought to you by Whoop and their amazing Whoop strap that I wear 24/7, the very best fitness tracker on the planet Earth. It measures your heart rate variability, your resting heart rate. It monitors sleep, strain, and recovery with personalized feedback in real time, all within their amazing app. And for listeners today, Whoop is offering 15% off all memberships. Give Whoop a shot. And if it's not for you, they offer a 30-day return policy, no questions asked. Head to Whoop, that's WHOOP.com. Enter the code Rogan, ROGAN, at checkout and save 15% off. Join Whoop today and sleep better, recover faster, and train smarter. Thank you, friends, for tuning into the show. Much love to you all. Bye-bye and big kiss.